West. Salute. West the business. Hit that like button on your way in. I was going to pre-record it, but I'm just going to go ahead and go live and let that shit go. People can catch up with it later. Till then, man, get up in here. Let's go ahead. Low dog. Salute. What's happening with it? Let's get it popping. Hit the like button, man. Share. President Force on point. District 13 in the building. Salute. Now move two-way conversations. Keep spreading the deep kind of content and we rat pig. Hey, salute. Renegade Dutch, what's happening? I need to share this live, man. I really was supposed to be pre-recording it, but I'm like, man, I should allow the people to fill us live because we got another live going on tonight. You know what I'm saying? So salute to everybody that's stepping in. Hit that like button. We need y'all to hit the like button. If y'all didn't know, let me spread the word. They've been keeping us in purgatory. You know what I'm saying? The YouTube purgatory, you know? Play to win. What up? Let me lace these trucks, lace them up. We got the content. You know what I'm saying? I know most people are used to us. We're gonna start keeping music in the mix, keep everything up tempo so it ain't bored. Me until Yael come back in a couple days and he's ready to go. It can get boring listening to me. You know what I'm saying? What up, Cameron? What up? Salute to Dude Sims and the Blue Ridge Mob down with two-way conversations. Right. And we on YouTube. Let me hit this for them real quick. YouTube and Twitch at Act. I'll make sure y'all gonna run it up over there. Hit that like button. As soon as you step in the house, man, it's like dusting your shoes off once you first get inside a nigga house. Show a little bit of respect. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? Mike B, salute. We got Mike B and the Blue Ridge Mob entering the building. I know y'all like, damn, it's early as hell, right? No, it's definitely early. You know what I'm saying? But let's start like this. Rest in peace, Red Rum. You know what I'm saying? Share this, hit that like button when you come in. Fort Butt, Carolina Collect TV. Some of these beats is the ones I gotta lay down when I hit this suit. Hope y'all all tapped in. Let's go like this real quick. We're gonna get right through it. Can y'all even hear the beat? Give me a one in the chat if y'all can hear the beats that's playing. Ones in the chat if you can hear the beat playing on Okay, so y'all can hear it. Okay, I'm gonna go for sure. We got some stuff. We finna get into this content. That's definitely a dope beat. This is a vibe also. You know what I'm saying? It's so West Coast. And you want to do that? We got the we all the shit West Coast. It's just some more of this was the Paru Love anthem. BP, who can stomp down? What up, bro? Always had the hardest beat. Dominique Weather, Mayweather, salute. So yeah, we got the music, we got the beats up there, all at the poll, 100%. West, Big T, what up? So on the poll, the question was, did Suge bang pork bus wife? 96%. 96% of y'all believe he ain't capping. He done knocked down the man's wife. He said he done had them all before he had them. So we finna get into Suge's son, man. He spoke up on it. Oh, man, he said CS2 back was a rat that was sent to be up under his daddy. Same shit I've been told y'all. Let's go, though.
You know, this is SB the Ghost. LOX, keep shining and grinding.
And you can bring in the content, man. You knew the story. You knew about when this shit happened.
Let's hit that like button.
Yeah, man. Cap is my godmom. So, like, yeah, it was a real family at Death Row compared to what Bad Boy, what they went through. It seemed like it was a lot of insecurities and abuse.
Now, let's talk. There's a few characters, man. I mean, we don't know, but it just seems like your dad got some like frenemies. You know what I'm saying? It's like three names that pop up: David Kenner, Reggie Wright, and WACK100. What's up with these three people, man? Let's start with David Kenner.
Well, I'm gonna just be quick with it. Like, David Kenner was a lawyer. You know, that's a good friend of me, whatever you want to say. Reggie Wright, a childhood friend that grew up with my dad, you know, in the same neighborhood. WACK100, I just don't consider him as a huge contender. You know, he came in after Death Row fell, and I believe that he was just more of an informant that was working with the feds to bring my father down. And there wasn't nothing on my father to bring down other than like all the shit.
He was just a fed following my father to bring him down. Ooh, shit.
Fell, and I believe that he was just more of an informant that was working with the feds to bring my father down. And there wasn't nothing on my father to bring down other than.
Damn. Do y'all know the implication? He started off on CS2 back off the top. You know what I'm saying? Salute Deuce him. That's a smart young man. Nigga, that nigga said this nigga was sent to take my daddy down, but he couldn't do it.
Then like all the shit that my dad went through, it was just him falling. It wasn't him doing anything illegal. So
you feel allegedly Wack was an informant to bring Death Row down?
Yeah, because it just makes sense as I get older. And like, he only came around. I don't really know Wack. I know David. David was cool. He was family. You know, he took my mom and I to USC games when I was a kid. Gave me my first Suge chain. He bought me like when I was a 2-year-old kid. Reggie was always around, you know, at the Death Row stuff. It wasn't always beef. You know what I'm saying? Him and my dad, they were just childhood friends that just end up becoming mad at each other. And maybe my dad was his bully. You know what I'm saying? He used to call him pork butt and stuff like that. Yeah. I don't really know. I'm the son. I'm overhearing these things.
Yeah.
Wack, I just can't really say him too much. When I seen Wack as a kid, Wack had braids. You know?
He said his dad used to bully Reggie and call him pork butt.
I'm saying he bald now, and I'm like, I don't know, man. All these dudes that got something bad to say about my dad is either they was a friend or something like that, and something didn't go their way, and now they use that. Either my dad probably punked them or something to the point where they got to get revenge on them. Mm-hmm. And usually my dad probably messed with their wife or something like that. That's like Reggie. Like that's a known thing. My dad messed with his wife, and then that messed up a friendship. Same thing with Suge and Dre. You know what I'm saying?
So your dad messed with Reggie Wright's wife?
Yeah.
Ex-wife or current wife?
I think ex-wife. Okay. I'm not too sure. I don't know. I just know it wasn't a secret. I'm like, Pops, you gotta stop doing that. As I got older, I'm a man now. I'm like, hey man, like, you wrong, Suge. Like, you wildin', bro. Like,
that nigga said he had to tell his dad, come on, Pops, you wildin' now. Cause this nigga dad then took down Reggie Wright Jr.'s wife. Couldn't confirm whether that was his current or a past wife. But this, hey, it's gloves off right now. Suge got his young son out here jabbing at Reggie Wright Jr. Oh, I'm just here with my popcorn.
You smacking everything that move, bro. Like the fish start moving when you go to people's houses, bro. Like, gotta chill.
On a side note, who's the most randomest like friend of your father's? Like nobody would expect. It's like your dad's homie. Like you just see pop up and it's like, damn, that's some random shit.
Man, Kenton, that's a really hard question because I wasn't too sure who was his friend for a long time.
Yeah,
you know, in this industry. But I could say maybe I don't know. As I got older, I realized a lot of people was cool. Like probably MC Hammer was cool. Treach from Naughty by Nature, he was cool.
It's definitely Tretch. He said Treach.
Tretch.
It's Tretch.
Tretch, my bad. Tretch, my bad. I ain't trying to mess up their names. Petey Pablo was a funny one to me because during that time I was like, oh, I know that rapper. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, man, I don't know, man. Them rappers are old.
Yeah. No. So now, what is your thoughts on Snoop Dogg owning Death Row, the new Death Row? Like,
well, not new Death Row.
Harvard, Connecticut. What up?
I think I spoke with Lauren LaRosa from when she was working at TMZ. She had the Breakfast Club now. Yeah. I spoke to her about that. I said it was a win for the West Coast. So when he acquired it in 2020, I'm like, TMZ called me. They're like, how you feel, Suge? Are you punching the air or anything like that? No, I'm not punching the air. My dad ain't punching the air. It's a win for the West Coast. That's incredible news.
The plug happy for the police.
The only thing I didn't like was that nothing happened. And it was just like, dude, you got all these rappers out here. You got all these people who out here need jobs or whatever. I don't need a job, but I'm like, bro, I would be a great contender because I know I brought it back to life. I started the merchandise with it. My pop-up shop was bigger than his when he was trying to do it. And I'm like, bro. And the reason why I knew everything is because it was under Entertainment One. My TV show was under Entertainment One. I knew everything about what was going on. I invited the producers. I invited everybody. They came to my pop-up shop like, wow, Suge, this is on the corner of Melrose and Fairfax. Like, damn, yeah, it was costing me $20,000 a month. Like, I made some bread. Like, it was real. And when they acquired it in 2020, because that was in 2019, they acquired it in 2020. And I'm like, okay, well, what's up with the music? What you gonna do? And he didn't do anything other. You know, he brought a guy from Def Jam because he was working at Def Jam. He brought a guy from Def Jam to make it sound like Marvin Gaye. And it's like, I don't think that was a smart thing to do. I'm not hating, but it's just like, dude, you have all of these rappers that are like killing it in the industry. And I think you're just out of tune. So he kept wanting to stay safe with R&B when Death Row was like rap, boogie music. And then like you had heavy hitters. You had like rappers like Draco the Ruler coming out, killing it, like out here big, doing it big. You had RJ doing it big, 03 Greedo. That's like the new wave generation of people who was doing it. And then next thing you know, Suge's not interacting with these dudes. It's the politics of it. And it's like, I don't get it. I seen Death Row as like, okay, we can bring the West Coast back. I'm a fan of the West Coast. Let's do it. Not like I'm trying to keep beefs going or whatever. You bought it, bro. Congratulations. Beautiful. Other than that, do something with it. It's 2025. Ain't nothing really happened. You even did a collab album with Dr. Dre called Missionary. That flopped. And I'm not even talking mess. It's just like, what's going on? What are y'all missing? Pac. Y'all missing Suge. Y'all missing the right thing. So something ain't clicking. And not all that politic and all that segregation in LA is the reason why the West is where it's at.
Right. Now, fairly recently, a couple months ago or so, you had a little controversy where, you called out Ray J for the fade. How did that come about, man?
Well, I seen Ray J talking, online, And he was, when these dudes talk online, when they bring up my mom, I'm like, why are you bringing up my mom? And I was, I'm like this. I know the entertainment game. So I'm like, okay, Ray J needs some bread. I can use some bread too right now. All right, fuck, you know what, Ray J? If Jake Paul and the Paul brothers go set up these fights, let's set up a fight. And I'm like, it's 2 wins for me. I get to really whoop his ass, and I get to get some bread and get entertainment. It's a win-win. So that's why I call Ray J out, because I'm like, dude, you lying, and you've been lying because you've been lying saying that you had the life rights to my dad's stuff. And this is all like causing this controversy, and you trying to use people in a negative light to get on to keep your relevancy up. And I'm like, okay, well, I can use you. And they did, and they worked. I called you out, just like Justin Combs and them called you out. Well, they didn't do it. They seen Ray J. They didn't do nothing. Ray J see me, he'd be like, hey, what's up, Shuggy? What's up, fam? That's the thing.
Hello?
Like in the outside world, people would look at it like, oh man, it's a real rumble. In the real life, they'd be like, no, Shuggy, you beat me up, man. I'm like, dude, I ain't trying to beat you up, bro. Like, I know you need some bread. Like, let's do this fight. Ray J versus Suge Knight. Let's do a play real quick, bro. But people, celebrity dudes, man, they get into this whole prima donna thing where they don't want to allow other people to shine. And he a generation that he's not trying to allow the new generation to shine. Because he way older than me. He like 40 something. So it's like, I ain't ageism. I ain't doing no ageism like that. But it's like, bro, pass the torch, bro. Like, you did Love and Hip Hop. Nigga, I did Love and Listings. Nigga, like, come on, bro. Like, come on.
Move.
Now, Love and Listings was your VH1 show.
Yeah.
Now, what's up with the your dad's podcast, the one with Dave Mays?
Dave Mays to collect calls. It's obviously there's I don't keep up with it. I support him in real life. I feel like I have 2 things I feel about it. I feel like he should, give people what they want, but don't give too much, because you still got to have your own story.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a lot of drama within it. But I'm like, it's hard to tell somebody to do. It's hard to tell him what to do, maybe especially in prison. Because you ever been in jail? It sucks to be in jail, especially you have so much success. You don't want to be in jail. And the Dave Mays, I can see that it's drama. I just hope that everybody learns their lesson and not to, I don't know, stay out of their feelings and get back to doing what they need to do. Because if not, it's gonna fall like that, bro.
I know you and your father, you guys talk a lot. You guys have
we talk a lot here and there, not as much now. Like, I think that we have a good relationship, but it's just more like I do my own thing. I'm at a point in my life where I made different decisions compared to my father. I'm not saying he's a bad dad, but we're just 2 different guys. He had 7 foundations. What I mean by foundations is 7 different families and all that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. Me, I'm just with one, like, ain't no shot. It's just more like I learned from my dad's mistakes. I'm not going to say mistake, but his choices, I just make different choices. Mm-hmm. And I respect him as my father, proud of him, but I have my own life that I live. And everything I do now is just to protect my name, because my name is actually Suge. That's why I own the IP rights. That's why I own my name. And I'm very fair. And all I want to do is make sure that things are done the right way.
And then you have kids. How many kids do you have now?
I have 2 kids. So 2 daughters.
2 kids.
How old are they?
2 and 5.
Now how's that, being a father?
It's incredible, man. My first daughter was on TV with me. I brought her on. Everybody knew her. And then my second daughter, she didn't get to experience the TV part because I didn't want to exploit it. Mm-hmm. And it's incredible. Like, I grew up, I grew up with all the riches and all that, but I didn't grow up with the father time. Mm-hmm. I had my dad times with my dads, we reconciled and got older and You know, I lived with him at one point in my life, but like this part of me being a hands-on father, that's what's rich to me. Being able to provide, looking up in the roof, like, hey, everybody cool, everybody sleep, everybody all on me. They depend on me. It's a difference. And it makes me understand everybody else. It makes me understand every single other father that works in this world, even that's enemy to the Knights, how they survive. It's not, I learned to not take things personal. It's the way that they survive. Like Reggie Wright talking online.
He was smart,
it may not be the truth, but it's the way how he has to survive. It may not be looked upon right. It's the way how he survives. This is what it is.
I think I can find something that fits.
Look,
See what for.
I'm slow.
At Van Horn Automotive, our employees are the owners, and that means the passion.
Yeah, that's Suge Knight J. I think that's how they say it. Suge Knight J. You know what I'm saying? That's how they got his name. You know, Suge Knight J. Whatever the J stand for. But very intelligent kid. That was one of the main reasons I wanted to run this content. Obviously, you got the high notes, right? You got them explaining off the gate that WACK100 to him was just an informant that was working with the feds to try to take down death row. This nigga Suge's son looks at WACK100 as an informant that was sent to death row to take down death row, his dad in death row. He come out the gate with that, busting. You know what I'm saying? Busting. You know, and also young Suge Knight J. Suge definitely knocked the Mario coins out of pork butt. The Mario coins out of pork bus wife, not Super Mario coins, nigga. He say Suge knocked the Mario coins out of pork bus wife. Southern Force, that's nasty work. But pork butt can't get none right now anyway, so he probably did him a favor. You know what I'm saying? He don't look like he could walk, let alone jump up on some pussy right now. He might use his tongue. He might want to eat a bitch. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. Oh, shit, I missed that about Snitch 100 calling Wack a Fed informant. Yeah, I believe Wack's been working undercover since Reggie brought him to death row, Deuce. Wack says things sometimes that he can't hide. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Like his book, Infiltration. IE Stream, salute, bro. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful black ladies, salute. Anthony Thomas, hit that like button. So you got that off the gate. And then I don't want y'all to forget this. You know what I'm saying? Available right now. Let's go here. That tongue go to work. Word. Wow.
My friend. Buncher was my fucking friend. Ride or die. You can't kill Buncher and have me forget it. I will never forget it. Reggie killed Buncher. Reggie Wright Jr. ordered the hit on Buncher and Hen Dog.
Yeah, that's available on Patreon, man. Y'all go up over there. Make sure y'all subscribe. Matter of fact, I'll put the link in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Tartan Mystic said thumbs up, peace, kings, and I guess, and prayer. Facts, prayers to you and yours also, Tartan Mystic. Anthony Thomas. Keefy D also had that porky wife. Her name is Boo. Pork fuck Fat Man Reggie brought his wife on a podcast in an attempt to refute it. Oh, pork butt fat man Reggie brought his wife on to try to say Keefe D didn't really hit his woman. So she get loose, huh? Okay. Hey, she don't respect pork butt, man. She know pork butt piece of shit. She don't respect him. You know what I'm saying? She probably fear him. You know, Reggie ain't to be fucked with, man. Reggie Wright Jr. ain't to be fucked with. So let's go here real quick while we talk about pork butt. You know what I'm saying? Let's go here real quick.
Money now, you know, this is what we've been fighting for the last 30 years, you know what I'm saying? Why Snoop took all the shit off of iTunes and everywhere because he wanted to see who's stealing.
Thank you,
okay. You know, Reggie Wright was stealing. He had made a publishing company under my name, and he was just stealing all kind of shit, man. And, you know, we found that out, and now Snoop going through every corners of the Death Row catalog and just seeing like Alan Grunblatt from E1 stealing.
Appreciate that, wow. You know Alan Grunblatt
Reggie Wright stealing. You know what I'm saying? We catching everybody hand in the cookie jar right now. So right now we putting everything back together, and you know what I'm saying? Like I said before, Snoop doing a good motherfucking job. Harry on the Death Row, you know what I'm saying? And giving us shit back. So hey, I retired. When you got $100 million, you know what I mean?
Wow. Congratulations on that, man.
So Daz right there is talking about pork butt and how pork butt was caught stealing with his hand in his cookie jar. Snoop Dogg and Harry O took all the music down so they could see where the royalties was going and who was stealing what. And Reggie was stealing shit. Yo, dudes, do you have a website selling merch, bro? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hold on, let me show you something real quick, Slim Reaper. You know what I'm saying? We gonna get you right real quick. You know what I'm saying? It don't even take that long. You know what I'm saying? You can go to activechucks.com. You know what I'm saying? If you want the Active Chuck merch, or you can just go ahead and go to Active Chucks on YouTube for the Damu Keyway Conversation merch. You know what I'm saying? And we appreciate all support. You know what I'm saying? Here it go right here. So you go on Active Chucks. Okay, y'all see? Let me make sure y'all can see it or y'all can't see it. So you go on Active Chucks, bro, on your YouTube. If you want the Damu Keyway merch, and you'll be able to go over here to the right where it says store. You got the phone cases, T-shirts. You got the bandana with the Damu Keyway Conversations. You got the hoodies. You got the coffee cup, coffee mug. You know what I'm saying? You got the kitchen apron. You know what I'm saying? And you got some flip-flops. You know what I'm saying? The Resistance, Damu Keyway Conversation. The Pooh Shiesty neck gator, nigga. If it's cold, you got the notebook with the Damu Keyway, the fisherman hat. They call it the bucket hats. You know what I'm saying? The socks, yeah, man, you could go get it right there. You know what I'm saying? Or you could go on activechucks.com and hit that like button. I mean, and hit that shop stuff. Pork butt filed domestic charges against his wife. It is public information. Oh, man, she been beating on pork butt. Hello, Tart Mystic. How you doing today, lovely? I hope you're having a wonderful weekend, sweetheart. Crackling rear. Crackling rear. Yes, Slim. So that's all you got to do if you want to get to the stove. You know what I'm saying? But let's get to some more content. You know, I was just
traded this. They top witness is the lead suspect.
The defense pointing to someone else.
Let's start that back.
#1 Tupac channel host, Valentino. This is SB the Ghost. LOX, keep shining and grinding, brothers. Do what you do.
Your key witness orchestrated this. They top witness is the lead suspect.
The defense pointing to someone else, Reggie Wright Jr., a former cop and security guard for record mogul Suge Knight, who was driving the car Tupac was in the night he was shot. Wright has denied any involvement and has said, "It bothers me because I was in charge of possibly..."
Well, the document clearly states the investigation due violating department policy and endangering the life of a confidential witness was classified as no department employee, which means that because you were not an active, keyword being active, employee of the department, internal affairs could not investigate those claims. So I don't understand the purpose of the email.
Paul, if you'll let me respond, all you're demonstrating is your actual ignorance of LAPD internal affairs policy. Of course they have a responsibility to look into this, and they did. They spent 6 months investigating this. They called me for an interview. They talked to several people, including the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI. They conducted a thorough investigation, as is their responsibility, regardless of whether I'm still employed there or not.
If you don't mind if I ask you a question, Detective, about that. If there was foul play, even if you were retired, would you still face any type of I don't want to say charges, but any type of anything?
Yeah, absolutely. They would sustain the complaint. Regardless of whether I'm employed there or not, they would still sustain the complaint, saying that they found me to be essentially guilty of the charges lodged, which, of course, wasn't the case. They found that there was no misconduct. As a matter of fact, what they said in the complaint was that there is no policy that I violated.
So is it the internal affairs job to look into retired cops' misconduct?
It's their job to look into every one of their department employees, whether he's retired or current. They still have a responsibility because it affects the reputation of their department. So certainly, yes, they do, and they do it all the time.
In your earlier interview with Anton, you said a prosecution case regarding the Tupac murder would go to shit really quickly in a case based on the type of witnesses that you have so far. Is this not the same thing that happened with the Torres Ramos case due to your repeated, 5 times to be exact, misrepresentations of truth in your search warrant?
No, absolutely not.
Well, okay. You stated it was a mistake that they found and an unintentional error concerning the Torres case and the reason that you were pulled off the Biggie Smalls case, the Christopher Wallace case. You hold firm to that?
That it was an unintentional error? Absolutely.
Was it 5 unintentional errors?
No, it was 1 search warrant.
Well, this search warrant included not just typos, but a complete fabrication of exactly how many recorded intercepted calls from George Torres, plus that there was an omitted evidence withheld from discovery. How could you make so many wrong mistakes when you had at your disposal the actual recording of the conversations as well as the transcriptions of the conversations made by the operators in the wiretap room?
Because when I wrote the search warrant, I was simply doing what I had done 1,000 times. I used the best recollection I had. I should have used the tapes, but the mistakes were innocuous. I used a 2 when I should have said a win, and very simple phrasing. As you can see when you read that internal affairs complaint, they say I paraphrased when I used quotes, which was a mistake, and that's what I got grilled for. It had nothing to do with the validity of the search warrant, had nothing to do with the validity of the charges. It was a mistake that I made, and it was something that I have to accept as, my own error. But think about this. Use a little bit of logic. Why would I intentionally sabotage my own warrant when I know that there's recordings that can be used to discredit me? Why would I intentionally then sabotage my own warrants knowing that those recordings are available?
That would be my next question, Greg. And, you've used this excuse before.
Oh, it was an unintentional mistake. It was simply that. You can twist it into this whole thing as false representation, but you're never going to get there. Nobody's going to agree with that. There was a very thorough investigation conducted, and they came up with the same conclusions. Kading made a mistake.
True.
It happened in 25 years and hundreds of search warrants. I made a mistake.
No, the court found that this is a quote from Judge Wilson, that the officer's Kading's explanation that this was merely a mistake is not credible. Not credible. And when given testimony in a conversation with Latimer that this is an implausible excuse.
Vehicle took round impact, cooperation decline.
Is not credible. not credible. And when given testimony in a conversation with Latimer that this is an implausible excuse, that Officer Kading actually participated in this conversation.
How could I have participated in a conversation? I was not privy to it. I was hearing it on a wiretap. So.
It's what the court docs say. The bottom line is the United States 9th District Court's conclusion is that your conduct was contrary to law enforcement norms, and the court on separate earlier occasions found your honesty questionable. And the reason that I bring this up is, you know, if credibility is being questioned openly in court more than once, then we have to start looking at your credibility as concerning the Tupac and Christopher Wallace murder case.
Fair enough, then do that. But pay attention to the documents and see what they actually say. As you can read, Judge Wilson said, I never made a finding that Detective Kading was intentionally lying. He was in reckless disregard because he should have listened to the tapes. It's very clear what his finding was. There was never any finding of... Do you know what would have happened if they found that that was intentional? I would have been sued civilly. It would have been a crime of perjury. Well, of course, there was none of that took place because everybody recognized it was an unintentional mistake, period.
Is it not in the department's best interest?
It's not that everybody realized it was an honest mistake. What it was you lying and help falsify records was helping them make money and save money. So why would they admonish you with the harshest, what you call it? Greg Kading think everybody's dumb, but he's the dumb piece of shit. Let's go.
Declared a retired officer accused of wrongdoing as to not jeopardize previous cases and convictions that you were a part of, and to deflect any tarnish of the LAPD in lieu of the Valletta Wallace lawsuit, and to implicate the LAPD in any wrong.
An LAPD officer
Can I finish my question?
Wait, I'm sorry. Let Jesse just finish the question. Have however long you want to.
Well, you can re-edit it or you can play it again. You know, is it not in LAPD department's best interest to clear a retired officer accused of wrongdoing as to not jeopardize previous cases and convictions you were a part of, and to deflect any tarnish on the LAPD? PD in lieu of the repeated attempts from Valletta Wallace to implicate the LAPD in wrongdoing of death of her son?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It doesn't. The LAPD knows that the truth is going to surface regardless, and so they're intentional. What you're representing as an intentional neglect to look into things properly, and then to ignore them is ludicrous.
Okay, earlier in your response to Russell Poole, you interviewed with the gentleman that we're talking to, Anton Beatty. You said that there were discovery issues that were based solely on the shoulders of prosecutors.
We take hundreds of credit cards a day. Spectrum is keeping the customer's information safe.
What?
No one's dumb enough to go where we're going.
Can we get this DNA?
Let's go. Well, we ain't getting no.
Tim C. Wrighton? Did you not as a detective work with him?
Yes, and we gave him every single bit of discovery material that was in the investigation. He chose to turn over redacted notebooks. We don't get to make that decision. Prosecutors determine what evidence is going to be turned over to the defense. Detectives don't participate in that decision-making process. We simply give him everything. He decides what's going to be used and not used. We had nothing to do with the discovery material, and if you knew anything about criminal law, then you would recognize that. Detectives don't make these decisions.
Greg,
why is he doing that? For some reason, it's not getting audio.
You know, prosecutors have to be able to rely on the investigators, and was he not transferred due to your misconduct?
Absolutely not. He wouldn't get transferred if it was my misconduct. He'd only get transferred.
Little Suge Fry CS too bad. Yeah, his audio is terrible. I'm gonna have to let him know.
Criminal prosecution, you would understand that.
I know that prosecutors rely on the detectives providing the evidence to form their case. Am I wrong on that, Greg?
What evidence? It was discovery material. It wasn't evidence. It was volumes and volumes of notebooks that were given to him. He redacted. He gave them to the defense. They challenged it. They had them unredacted. And once they got the unredacted copies, they found a few things that they thought were relevant to the case. And that was it. And the judge said, well, you guys screwed up. Case dismissed. Retry it if you'd like.
Did you not make?
So you did screw up. And it was some things that were heavily redacted that you guys are hiding. Exculpatory. See, under the Brady, the Brady federal law requires for the government to turn over all evidence, inculpatory or exculpatory, which means whether it helps the defendant in his case or it hurts the defendant in this case. It's all turned over so your lawyer can determine what's the best method of defense, right? What's the best method of defense? Well, Greg Kading obviously had turned over redacted paperwork to the U.S. attorney or the DA. No, it was defense. So the assistant U.S. attorney. And then they say, well, hold on, you guys were withholding back exculpatory evidence. This is what happened. That's why they overturned Mexican George case. The nigga Greg Kading's a dirty motherfucker. I wouldn't be shocked if Mexican George paid him. Hey, salute Mexican George. I hope that worked out for you, and it did go like that, but fuck Kading. You know what I'm saying? But Mexican George, I'm glad that worked out for you, brother. You know what I'm saying? And let's get back to it.
Make repeated promises for leniency and benefits in 2 different interrogations involving the Torres case.
Absolutely not. And here again shows your naivety of the situation. Detectives don't get to make those promises. Anything that is guaranteed, it comes from the U.S. Attorney's Office, and it's a very, very structured process. We can offer ideas like, hey, if you want to talk to me, I can put in a good word. But we can't make any guarantees, and nor do we make promises. We simply make suggestions, and we work with the attorneys in following up on those.
So is defense attorney Stephen Madison and LA Weekly lying when they said that you stated, it is always this way, man? I have to come up with the answers and tell you, and you just say, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Stephen Madison twisting and taking that conversation out of context. But you can't expect him not to do that. He's getting paid $15 million to defend a murderer. Of course he's going to attack the prosecution. Of course he's going to attack the detective. He's going to attack everything he can. He has to, just like what R.J. Bond has to do. You have to discredit the messenger because you can't discredit the evidence.
Well, did Judge Wilson not openly question your credibility in court and say, quote, that he was concerned about this officer Kading in reference to your interrogation tactics?
And does he not also say, I found that Detective Kading was credible in other areas, and I'm not saying that he couldn't be considered credible in this case or in other cases. So if you're going to give the story, give the whole story, because Judge Wilson made it very clear. He found me problematic on one thing, and that was a search warrant that I made a mistake on, period.
He also found your interrogation tactics problematic.
Maybe he doesn't like the fact that I befriend these guys in order to get them to cooperate. Maybe he doesn't like the idea that I go above and beyond in order to make progress in a case. I don't know, but this is law enforcement, and this is what cops do. We try to get people to cooperate so that we can make inroads in a case, especially an old case, especially a celebrity case, and one that's as problematic as these are. So, yeah, maybe he doesn't like it, but, you know, it's law enforcement, it's what we do, and it's approved tactics.
I apologize to interrupt you guys. I really do. Can I ask both you gentlemen the same question? And one of you guys, whoever gets it first, just gets it. Did Judge Wilson in that did he? I'll ask Mr. Surratt this if you don't mind. Did Judge Wilson say that Detective Kading was intentionally lying and intentionally falsifying any reports? Did he say that he intentionally did anything wrong?
He said, I don't have the court documents in front of me, so I'm going to have to paraphrase. Now quote
Wait
me.
a second.
Now,
we came to this debate with this issue in mind.
Okay.
Wait, I just want to get Jesse first, and then Detective, you could have however long you want to. But Mr. Surratt, did Judge Wilson?
No, he did not say that specifically, but I can tell you what he did state. I can tell you what he did state. And he did state that it was done with a reckless disregard for the truth, and it was questioned about the excuse that Greg gave because he had transcripts sitting in front of him. He had the audio in front of him, and it wasn't one clerical error. It was actually 4 clerical errors, and it was also a misrepresentation of how many intercepted phone calls Torres has. This is not a case of one mistake. It's a case of multiple mistakes on a search warrant. So, Greg, you can spin this however you want, but it's not.
I'll just read some of the documents because I brought them.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, right here, page 35 of Judge Wilson's 147-page ruling, down towards the bottom. The court never found that Detective Kading was intentionally lying. The court found that Detective Kading acted with reckless disregard. He had available to him the recorded calls, yet he misquoted them. Okay? Do you know the difference between reckless disregard and intentional lying?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you understand this specific term, reckless disregard, in its legal sense. You've researched that?
Why did Amazon send me $20,000? Because I use
it's
Amazon
all
AI.
semantic.
I'm going to show you a way to
The lesser
potentially make money.
Greg, you don't have to be
I'm asking you a
condescending.
question.
I
Did
know.
you research that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you know that reckless disregard is not an intentional act. As a matter of fact, it's very clear with Judge Wilson says, I never found Detective Kading intentionally lied. He acted with reckless disregard. Something entirely different.
Yeah, it's an unprovable lie.
Right.
What's the legal definition, if any of you guys know, for reckless disregard? What's the legal definition for that?
Go ahead, Greg. Go ahead,
Jess. You researched it.
Oh, you're the expert.
Okay, so you don't have it then?
Not in front of me.
Mr. Surratt, I'm just asking, do you know what the legal definition, because I have one, and anyone familiar with the O.J. Simpson case knows this, when Judge Ito grilled out, getting a brain freeze, but there is a legal definition for a reckless disregard.
It was Van Adder, by the way.
Van Adder, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, it's when you do something without considering the consequence, essentially. So it doesn't mean that anything.
So you can paraphrase, but I can't. Because I don't have it sitting in front of me. You're going to be condescending, and you can paraphrase, but I can't. I didn't answer.
Go ahead. Why don't you read it then, Anton, for both of us?
Okay, I had it earlier.
So do you admit, Jesse, that this document says Detective Kading never intentionally lied, but you've been ranting and raving for 6 months now saying that Detective Kading intentionally lied and that these court records dictate that? So now who actually was misrepresenting?
You, according to the court documents, my friend.
They're right here. You're the one who's been ranting and raving, hey, there's been endless lies. He's been intentionally doing this, intentionally doing that.
I've got more. I mean, if you would like to continue the debate, I've got more.
Then bring it.
All right.
We're here for.
Okay.
That's what we're here for.
In your book, Murder Rap, you try to debunk Russell Poole's claims that corrupt LAPD officers, Suge Knight, Reggie Wright, and Amir Muhammad were responsible for the murder of Chris Wallace. Right? Said Poochie Faust did the killing, right?
Right.
On page 245 of your book, you state, we had all but totally disproved that particular hypothesis once and forever. There is no police conspiracy. Do you stand by those statements?
Absolutely.
Then let's talk about David Mack. What kind of car did he own on the night of the shooting?
A black SS Impala.
Reggie Baylock, who you stated had the best view of what happened, page 30 on Murder Rap, stated it was a black Chevy Impala. You said in your book that this is not important in the case. Why?
Because 30 different people had black Chevy Impalas, green Chevy Impalas, gray Chevy. There were so many Impalas that you can't use that one piece of information to draw a conclusion from. And that's where Russell Poole made his mistakes, is that he was drawing conclusion based on selective information and ignoring the other information that refuted it.
No, you just chose to utilize and focus on any kind of evidence that you could find that refuted it to get off of the Violetta Wallace lawsuit for the death of her son. What he's trying to do the person who was the closest to him, to the car, that even Greg Kading admit was the closest eyewitness, says it was this car, but he doesn't want to give the credibility to that person who was consistent and who seen it from the get-go. Blaylock, let's go.
Of the witnesses said that it was a green Impala. Even the one on the 911 tape refers to it as an aqua blue Impala. So once we knew that there was going to be this ambiguity about the color of the car, we knew that we could not rely on that solely to draw a conclusion.
And I agree with you.
Had a green Impala at the time.
And I agree with you. You can't.
Quick's bodyguard had a black one at the time. There were so many Impalas that you couldn't put all of those eggs in that basket, Jesse.
I completely understand that. But when you put that together, combined with the suspicious illness days that he took from work, and the black Chevy Impala that was reportedly used at a bank robbery that David Mack was involved in, do you deny that Mack wore blood red suits that Suge Knight favored? Do you deny that Mack had a shrine to Tupac in his house?
First of all, he didn't use the black Impala in the bank robbery. He used a stolen van. So you need to get those facts straight. And regardless of whether this guy wore red suits or not, you can't take these circumstantial things and draw conclusions of them and accuse somebody of murder.
Absolutely. But what about the fact that he had 9mm Gecko ammunition in his house?
So did Orlando Anderson. So did half a dozen other people in Compton during the search. That ammo was not as rare as the media led everybody to believe. It was coming up everywhere.
Really? At the time of the Chris Wallace murder, there was 2 known manufacturers of that ammo. One was in New Jersey. No, let me finish. One was in California. All right? The Gecko 9mm rounds found in his house was confirmed by the FBI. And you said that these are somewhat rare and not very rare. Well, the FBI disagrees with you because when it looked it up in its database, it couldn't match and it couldn't find another round of 9mm Gecko ammunition in any other case file that it had. And you were privy to the FBI database on the task force, correct, Greg?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything.
So you don't find it quite odd? I mean, you're saying that this is, it's kind of rare, but it's not very rare. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's being found everywhere else. The point is that in order to accuse somebody of murder, you have to get shell casings that match, not just some type of ammo. And that's where I am debating with you because I don't think you understand what takes place in a criminal investigation. So you have to understand that we go through all of this, Jesse. We look into all this. We're open-minded about it all. We want to know wherever the evidence leads. That's the truth that we want to follow. Okay? We're not going to take circumstantial information or circumstantial or suspicious information and draw conclusions from it. We've already seen how quickly that goes sideways. And the FBI absolutely disregarded Poole's theory. They hung up the case when they found no evidence to support it.
That's cap.
Are you denying that the FBI in their database did not have Gecko 9mm ammunition in their database of murders? Are you denying
that? The FBI does not have a drug fire database, so I don't even know.
I didn't say drug fire database. I said...
And what is your point? That there's no Gecko ammunition in that database?
That's what I'm saying. That they had no murders. They had no murders at that time committed with that type of ammunition. And you said that this is somewhat rare, not very rare. And the fact of the matter is that this is a very telling piece of evidence that you omit from your book because you cherry pick what information you want to put in there.
That's
Imagine a school that prepares you for life beyond the classroom. At Destinations Career.
And when information you don't. And I have more if you would like it.
Absolutely. Go. What we're here for.
All right. Let's talk about Harry Billups, a.k.a. Amir Muhammad. What is his relationship to David Mack?
His relationship with David Mack was they were college roommates. That's how they began their relationship, and they became friends.
You say in your Clearing the Rubble chapter, page 90 of Murder Rap, that the composite drawing made by Eugene Deal, who was the bodyguard to Christopher Wallace and Sean Combs, quote, only bore a passing resemblance to Amir Muhammad. Do you stand behind that?
Yeah, I don't think that they look that much alike.
Fred Miller, Russ Poole's former supervisor, said the composite had an uncanny resemblance to Muhammad's driver's license photo. Do you disagree with that statement?
Well, that's his opinion. That's his opinion. But I've already disagreed with that statement. When America's Most Wanted ran those composites during one of its episodes, there were hundreds of calls of people calling in saying, hey, that composite looks like my neighbor. Hey, that composite looks like that guy I just ran into down at the drugstore. Hey, that composite looks like this gang member from the Rolling 90s. So there were hundreds of people from their own perspective who thought that composite looked like somebody they knew. That's why that composite was essentially worthless.
Okay. Fair enough, Greg. But let's talk about misrepresenting facts like you've accused me of. You said in your book that Eugene Deal tentatively identified him as the Nation of Islam guy behind the wheel of the Impala. This is false, Greg. On camera, in the Biggie and Tupac documentary, Eugene Deal pointed to the photo of Muhammad in a lineup and 100% positively identified him. He was so clearly upset that the LAPD did not show him this photo when they interviewed him, that you could see it in his face. He stated this. This is an eyewitness. How do you refute that?
No, that's easy to refute, because long before that interview with Nick Broomfield ever took place, the LAPD had already sat down with Eugene Deal and had already shown him a six-pack compiled of different photographs of other people, and he identified one of them as the Nation of Islam guy. So now we've got him looking at different photos and identifying different people as the Nation of Islam guy. So I called him up and I said, Eugene, what's the deal? And he goes, here's the deal, Greg. I never meant to say that. I know it was all dramatic on camera. The truth was I was simply saying it bore a resemblance, but when I made that very adamant identification, yeah, I was wrong. And I made a mistake. And that's during my interview with Eugene Deal, who had already identified somebody else as a Nation of Islam guy during his LAPD interview.
Then why
that was a worthless identification.
Why in the wrongful death suit filed by Valletta Wallace in 2005 did he stand by that description that it was Amir Muhammad that he had seen?
Because he's just like half a dozen of these other guys. They dig a grave and then they jump in it and don't know what to do when they get caught with bad information. You know, these guys are invested in something, and instead of just admitting that they were wrong, they have to try to defend it. Eugene Deal was not a good witness in the Valletta Wallace civil case, which is exactly why David Mack and Amir Muhammad were dismissed from the case, because the attorney knew he couldn't carry forward with it.
I believe, Greg, that you downplayed Muhammad's jailhouse visit to Mack as just seeing a childhood friend. Why did you not mention in your book the fact that Muhammad wrote a fake social security number and address in the jail visitation log?
Because he's visiting a criminal and he doesn't want to be associated with him. It's very simple. People do it all the time. Half the people that go down to the jail put false names or false information. It happens all the time.
Yeah, he got a lot.
There's nothing really all that suspicious about it.
Really? Because you implicate Teresa Swan as a criminal because she used false IDs in your book. So that doesn't apply to Muhammad, who you quote say that he was just a law-abiding mortgage broker.
So are you suggesting that because he put down the wrong social security on a visitor log that he's a criminal?
I think it's a red flag.
Is he a criminal? Because that's the analogy you just drew.
Oh yeah, I can follow up on that. The
criminal act? I'll have you know that's not a criminal act.
Okay, that might not be, but I've got one that is. The LAPD robbery and homicide detectives did a research on both of his adopted Muslim name and legal name and found 8 prior addresses, each with no forwarding. And in 1998, October 21st, I believe, Muhammad was arrested in Chino, California for brandishing a 9mm Beretta firearm while pulling up to a car next to him. He was arrested with a fake driver's license under the name Harry Muhammad. Is that a criminal act, Greg?
Yeah, that's a criminal act.
Now, you knew this guy used fake IDs and you omitted it from your book. The FBI probed Amir Muhammad because of a jailhouse snitch named Michael Robinson. He said that Wallace's murder went by the name Amir, Ajmir, or Abraham, and he went to his house with a wire. So, is he a criminal or is he a law-abiding citizen? And is it not a red flag that he's putting down false information when he's visiting a corrupt cop in jail?
Well, here's the thing, Jesse. Just because somebody has a criminal history like yourself doesn't mean that they're involved in a murder. So you can't sit there and draw these conclusions that just because the guy has some questionable criminal history, that's not what we're interested in. We're interested in solving a murder. And there's nothing to connect Amir Muhammad, criminal or not, to this case. Even Michael Robinson, when he identifies Ashmir, Amir, Abraham, Kenny, Kiki, and gives all of these identifying criteria, none of them match up to Harry Billups, first of all. And it even gets more intriguing when you find out that his jailhouse informant pal was collaborating with him to lie to the LAPD. Once Michael Robinson got called on it, he admitted to it, said, hey, I've made the whole thing up. So now you don't even have the...
Wherever the road takes you, Chevy is ready to drive you forward with pure power unleashed and future-forward technology.
...basis for that theory. There is no Amir to even work with anymore because the jailhouse informant has destroyed the foundation of this theory. So all the walls that have been built on it collapse accordingly.
Okay.
So you need to understand how a criminal investigation takes place and how when people are discredited with their information, we don't continue to follow through with their information when we know it's lies. So Harry Billups becomes ultimately irrelevant because there was never a basis to look into him to begin with.
Look, I just look at it as bias towards a fellow LAPD officer when you're painting Billups to be a law-abiding citizen when that's far from the case. And that's the point, and that's what I wanted you to answer. You can tell me about procedure all day, and you can tell me about perception all day, but you misrepresented that in your book. The guy's a criminal.
He's a law-abiding citizen?
Yes.
Convinced he's the smartest.
So if I wrote that and he's not a law-abiding citizen, forgive me, Mr. Billups. The point is, I'm investigating the murder of Biggie Smalls, and when I have excluded an individual from that case, then I'm no longer interested in him. I don't have the time, the energy, or I'm not getting paid to look at people that aren't involved. I'm getting paid to look at people who are involved. I'm trying to solve the case, not spend time running off on wild goose chases.
Okay. So you do take stock in Keefe D?
Yes, I do.
Do you believe everything that he said to you in that interview?
Yes, I do.
So you believe him when he said that you were the only person that he's ever told that story to, right?
I don't know if I don't know that that's a quote of mine.
No, that's a quote of his. I'm asking you. Do you believe that statement?
No, I'm not sure if that's a quote of his.
Okay. You want to talk about Wayne and Anderson?
Well, wait a minute. Let's go back. Where are you making this quote up from?
Can I just make a request, and you don't have to do it, but can we get some closure on before we switch to another one? Whether if you think it, Mr. Surratt, if you think that it was a kind of a settled issue, if you could say, or if you think you just agree to disagree, can you?
No, we can agree to disagree. I think that omitting certain things paints a different picture than, Greg, you tout transparency, but you omit a lot in your book, and I have more omissions.
But did I admit, should I write information in there that's irrelevant? Should I say that Harry Billups had gotten arrested for a gun, even though he's no longer a suspect in the crime? I mean, what's the relevance of that, Jesse? Who cares?
Well, exactly. And Tammy Hawkins, you slammed her for her use of fake IDs, so...
Because she's a suspect in the crime. She's relevant.
All right. Fair enough, Greg. In the Tupac assassination Q&A, you agreed with Kevin Hackey and his claim of FBI involvement was true. But in your book...
Put that into context.
Okay, at the Tupac assassination Q&A video, it's on my YouTube. Mm-hmm. You agreed.
I'm sorry to interrupt. The one in 2007, right? The first one.
Yes.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You agreed with Hackey's claim of FBI involvement. You said, I didn't want to bust you out. Am I wrong?
His FBI involvement? No, I didn't want to bust him out that he was lying. I wasn't going to confront him right there in that auditorium with all these people that he was absolutely lying to their face about his role as an FBI agent, which was what he portrayed himself as. So yeah, I didn't bust him out. I didn't call him on that. I probably should have, but I didn't.
Well, Kevin Hackey helped Russell Poole link David Mack and other LAPD officers to Death Row Records.
Through lies, yes, he did.
In your book, you said that he was too stressed out on meds and had a bad memory, and that's probably a quote from him. It is, I'm sure. But you paint him as a liar.
Absolutely.
This is your quote from Hackey's testimony in the trial. This is the quote. I am stressed out and have been on medication for the past 5 years. My memory is bad. I probably won't remember our conversation tomorrow. And around page 141 of your book, you tried to pass this admission off as the truth.
That's what he said.
Why did you leave out the fact that when Hackey was questioned by the same lawyer and asked on whether he wanted to testify in the case to support his earlier deposition of Knight, Reggie Wright, and LAPD cop involvement, he said, I'm in fear for my life. The lawyer asked him, what are you afraid of? And he said, retribution by the Bloods, the LAPD, and associates of Death Row Records. Why did you omit that from your book?
Because I know what nonsense it is. I know exactly where Kevin Hackey was doing and what he was trying to accomplish. See, I'm privy to all his interviews, all his FBI interviews. I'm privy to all his criminal investigations that he was involved in. I'm aware of all his criminal culpability. I have all the information, Jesse, that you don't have. So I'm in a position of advantage.
No, you do got information that Jesse don't have, but you're a lie when you say you know every statement that he made, everything in his intentions. He was working for the ATF. Last time I heard, you was LAPD, Joint Task Force. You didn't even work with the ATF. You worked with the DEA. Total different organization. He was working for the FBI. You were not working for the FBI. You're an LAPD officer. So, of course, you know what his objective is. They're investigating the LAPD for corruption. Let's go.
Manage to render an opinion or render a statement about Hackey that you're not. You've only got newspaper articles to deal with. I've got all the investigative material. Or Hackey went to the FBI and said, hey, I need help because I'm being prosecuted for having felony charges against me. I will snitch on death row if you guys can help me.
He's the head of, he's the
This is a permanent set of teeth, or a totally fixed set of teeth. This is sturdy.
Architect of the cover-up.
We were unified school police officers, so they definitely would tell me. And so I believe those are the only times that I ever know of any police officers been hired.
So if I were to tell you, okay, so if I were to tell you that there were police officers that were hired directly by death row and they were paid under the table and we knew how they were being paid under the table and were able to track it, you would be aware of all that?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be aware, and I would like you to tell me who they are because it was easy just to throw it out. But,
no, I'm just asking you no problem.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Let me say this: there was another incident where one LAPD officer, and this was before I started working for Death Row. It was a Snoop Dogg's album release party on a boat, a yacht. There was one LAPD officer. I heard they got in trouble or something like that. That was working on the boat or something like that. And he's the only other officer. His name was Donovan. He wasn't one of the guys that everybody always mentioned in this Rampart stuff. He wasn't one of those guys.
That's the only time that you're aware of it.
And that's like 94, 93. But like I said, that's just from learning things after all of this stuff. I didn't even know about this prior to working.
But while you're running Wrightway Securities and you're providing security for death row artists, you're telling me you're not aware of any police officers that were hired for security for death row and that were being paid under the table. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's a correct statement.
Okay.
It's one thing if you're running a security company and obviously Suge is his own man. He's running around doing whatever he's doing, interacting with whoever he's interacting. Is there a world that exists that you're basically saying, with all of this other evidence that exists, that it's unrealistic that David Mack or Rafael Perez were involved in the murder of Biggie? Are you saying full stop, there's no way they were involved in that murder?
Why? I mean, what's their motive for death row?
But what I don't understand is why you believe Greg Kading when what he has said is just not true. And I'll ask you why you continue. And I don't say listen, I understand why Greg Kading continues to tell that story. You don't have to because you're a free man. You don't have a book. You don't have a TV show. You don't have anything other than your Reggie Wright. And I don't understand why you keep supporting this man in public. And if you want to answer that, that's just my last question.
Okay. I just believe, like I said, from the conversations with Reese and Swan and it just makes sense and will keep you decent.
John, how you doing?
Hackey was incarcerated for having a trunk full of AK-47s.
So when did you actually get out?
Actually, to be exact, I was released on the 14th of January.
14th of January.
Yeah.
This is Hackey as a police officer on Plumper, Dunkin' Donut days. He was a Compton police officer for about 14 years. I asked him if being a police officer and working for a criminal organization wasn't a bit of a contradiction.
I think primarily Death Row Records, in a sense, hired individual officers, who were, in a sense, officers who would, as I said, we see what we don't see.
But isn't that a compromise?
In a sense, most departments have off-duty work policy.
So it's all right to see drugs when you're off-duty, and it's not all right
I can honestly say,
I would say that was compromise.
As man as my witness upstairs.
Isn't that the word, compromise?
Based on the statement you said, yes, but I have never seen any drugs.
But you were aware, you said.
I had heard, but I have never seen anything with my own eyes.
Well, we're going backwards because you were aware about 30 seconds ago.
I was aware of certain things, but I've never seen any drugs.
Hackey witnessed heated money disputes between Tupac and Suge Knight. At the time of his death, Tupac was owed over $10 million by Death Row. Just before his murder, Tupac told Hackey and others he'd be leaving Death Row and taking unreleased songs worth more millions with him. Hackey regards these as the real motives for Tupac's murder. He complained, though, that my questions were too vague.
So you think what? You think I should be more specific?
Be more specific and direct with your questions.
Okay, do you think Suge Knight orchestrated the hit?
William Martin, what up? Salute, hit that like button.
Saved by the pager.
Based upon what I've been told within the industry and based upon what I knew for a fact that was going on, Tupac was leaving a record company. Okay, because Tupac didn't need Suge Knight. He had several other offers.
Right, Big Mark.
I would have to say, in the sense that he had something to do with the orchestration of the shooting of Tupac.
So tell me, do you think that the
y'all gotta remember, Greg Kading,
the two killings were
was
connected?
Alleged to be on payroll. He was getting paid by these niggas. There's a rumor that he was paid by Mexican George. There's a rumor he was paid. Him and Aaron.
And do you think the same person was responsible for orchestrating the two?
Yes.
And that person's in Death Row Records?
Yes.
If you've been injured in an accident, put a powerful law firm on your side. Call Hupie and Abraham.
So why do you think Biggie was killed?
I think, in a sense, Christopher Wallace just happened to be, he's a well-known rap artist, but I think basically he just happened to, based on the situation transpired with Tupac, the flame was lit. So in order to throw the attention off Death Row Records, this man was killed. Next best thing, there was an East-West rivalry. Let's make it seem as if Bad Boy Records had something to do with the shooting of Tupac Shakur.
So Reggie Wright said that police came to his house to investigate the Tupac shooting and your involvement in it.
That's what I don't understand. Why do they keep asking this crooked ass cop shit? You know what I'm saying? Why do they keep asking this crooked ass cop shit, man? Just like I said, when he said, bet you keep you getting locked up for Tupac murder? And I said, he need to be right in handcuffs with me for Tupac, for Biggie murder, because I know he had his hands in that shit.
So, man, he wrong. He know he had his hands in that. That's it. Ain't that the same thing the girl said? The audio and the whole interview available on my Patreon. That's in there right now. But yeah, Greg is a shady individual. And we're going to get into that, what you call it. But I just want to show you how his character, you know what I'm saying? he think he's the smartest motherfucker in the world, right? Let's go here. So listen to this one. He might have won some, but he just lost one. Like L Boogie, I don't know how WACK100 keep them guys doing business with him. Oh, because he's a payroll. So look, this is how it goes, and this goes back to WACK100. So we're transitioning, all this shit tied in. They're all on the same team with law enforcement and the cover-up. I'm trying to locate the investigative report on your interview of Cash Jones and the audio or video recording thereof. How can I obtain that? I don't think it would be available, Lamonte. I said, I don't think that they would destroy evidence of an ongoing investigation. He waived his Miranda rights. We're talking about Cash Jones. So there has to be documentation of him waiving his Miranda right. Any statement pertaining to the investigation, pertinent or non-pertinent, would not be destroyed. Greg Kading, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm saying it would be hard to get your hands on it. I said, as a citizen, don't I have a right to access such public records? Not necessarily. I say, well, the only way that we, the people, would have a right to access public records is if those records contain confidential information. Even then, I should be able to get a redacted version. He says, or if it's related to an open homicide case. Open homicide case. I'm talking about reading the investigative report by WACK100. Hold on. It's they buses and flunky boys. Ragged say, do Sims, you need to do some child predator catching. Mike didn't want to pull you away from, but you good. If I did for 5-10 minutes, just need to get the air mattress or yeah, take your time, Tartan Mystic. Hey, good looking out, Mike B. I shout out to the Blue Wrench Mob holding it down and on their job in the chat. This nigga is telling me, nah, they don't have to give you WACK100 shit as public record because it's an ongoing homicide case. So what Wack haven't told us was that he spoke with the Joint Task Force and Greg Kading about a homicide. What homicide? We'll get there. Let me finish telling you about Detective Greg Kading. I said, I understand that. That in itself indicates enough about the contents of Cash's statements therein. He said Jones didn't provide any pertinent info as far as we were concerned. I said, I'm not alleging he did, but what is pertinent to you and what is pertinent to the public is subjective. Tupac is still very loved religiously, so what happened or is alleged to have happened should be available to his family and followers. Subjectivity aside, he doesn't deny the validity of my statement, right? It is not the practice nor purpose of law enforcement to involve itself in public affairs that are of a non-criminal matter. If Cash has something to say about Pop that is criminally non-pertinent, you can simply reach out to him and request an interview. He then can make his own choice. So I hit him with a thumbs up. Then he comes back to help you further. I believe Jones was in CYA at the time both Pac and Big were shot. You could probably verify that. Therefore, if he was incarcerated, any thoughts he had about the murders would be opinion, mere opinion, or hearsay. Said, thank you for your help. As if you don't have people that jailhouse informants that get confessions from people involved in cases. This is what he wants me to believe, right? But anyway, I said, as far as your task force for Tupac Biggie murders, but I specifically questioned the Main Street case, the kidnapping the Stutterbot. He said, yeah, that's an interesting story. I said he waived his Miranda rights and spoke with you in relation to the Tupac Biggie murder investigation. I said you admitted that you didn't know what was going on with the Stutter Box and Main Street case at the time you spoke with Cash Jones. It wasn't until later that you got involved with that case. Now he changes it and said I was there before it started. So I sent him this link. Hold on. I got to see if I can show y'all this audio, right? Because he changed it. Oh, they removed the clip. They do a lot of scrubbing. I forgot to tell y'all, Wack and his team does a lot of scrubbing. So what I sent was the audio. Thanks, dudes. Won't be long. Rat 100, Gregory Womack say, Rat 100. We got a super chat, $5 super chat from Iceman Vamp. Do you think you could get that information through Freedom of Information Act request? No, I already filled it out. I'm gonna see if I can find it in a minute, and I'm gonna put it up here and let y'all see the votes. They gave me access to the Tupac and Biggie votes. But as far as the ongoing investigation shit, that's not in there. Who is Chaz? Because that's who Gene said he was working with that night since he wasn't under Bad Boy no more. Did this Chaz own a security company too? We got to look into that. You know what I'm saying? But I can tell y'all this. I sent Greg Kading that link where it said Greg Kading says he doesn't know what Back has going on with the Main Street case. Greg became involved later. I said, then why did you say you didn't know what was going on with the Stutter Box and Main Street case? So you were joined to the Fed case before it started? And then he sends me this. Let me make sure y'all can see this. So on this, you see this is his calendar. January 10th, 2008, right? The detective work hours, 0600 hours, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Detective Bureau briefing with Chief Brennan. Met with Meherode Romez and Mark Arenas. Remember in the paperwork where it says Mark Arenas turned the case over to Detective Fournier, Paul Fournier, and Michael Coet? Reed, Del Dog, and bringing the case to, and I guess that's the feds, EOW 2000 Rampart. So he sent, this is what Greg Kading sends me, telling me he was there before the case started. He said the investigators at a Main Street Crip case asked me to help them federalize their case. I opened up the case as a federal case 2 weeks later. The case name was The Main Attraction, right? Quads only 216, salute. I said, oh, okay, that makes sense because Cash Jones admitted that he went to the 64th floor on Wilshire to speak with you guys and saw everyone in FBI flat jackets. So Cash Jones did speak with the investigators in the Main Street Mafia Crip case. So when you said as the lead investigator for the Tupac Biggie murder investigation, Cash had nothing pertinent to add, that didn't include any information that he may or may not have provided pertaining to the Main Street Crip investigation. So I try to get him to boil down because it's multiple investigations he's involved with, and WACK100 is trying to blur the lines to where it's confusing to what he's talking to these people about. So now Greg Kading say he didn't have anything to say about anything, which is a bold-faced lie. We got Wack saying that he said some things about a wiretap. Once they told him they had him on wiretap, we got WACK100 saying he said some things to them about guns because they told him that they found guns in his house. So he said he didn't have nothing to say about it. I said, then why is Mark Stevens saying that Cash called him several times trying to get in contact with Del Dog, but Del Dog was cool on that brother. And the transcribed wiretap on Main Street case that matches up to CS2 back calling Mark Stevens. In the wiretap, Mark Stevens even refers to not helping the Wack boy in a long time, while telling Del Dog that he just called several times saying box went sour and the phones are compromised. So then I sent him the actual wiretap. This is Greg Kading, the man that helped federalize the case. This is the paperwork I exposed. I sent to him, right? I sent this to Greg Kading, just one page of the transcribed wiretap between the call between CS2 back, the Wack boy, and Money Mark Stevens, and Money Mark Stevens then clicking over and calling Del Dog, trying to ask him, was it cool to give him the stuff? So I sent Detective Greg Kading the documentaries that I did. I said, you did your movie with the Hollywood effects. I did a 3-part documentary investigating the real truth, questioning 2 players directly involved. He said, I'm telling you, Cash Jones was not an informant, period. You can choose to believe or you can choose not to. I don't know what else to tell you. I said, I bet. Thank you for your information. So I sent him the other shit. Then I sent him the thing about a 137 informant, how it would never be handed over to him. Let me play this real quick because, yeah, hold on. Let me stop sharing real quick. Now I can go back and share with y'all. Let's get to this real quick.
Even if I did talk and said anything to you, I'm sure Greg Kading and them and all of them got that information, and so they had that information in their files.
Let me tell you this right now. Let me tell you this right now. Okay. If I had a 137 source, not just for this Biggie case, but for all the other cases that I've worked, those documents would not get handed over to an LAPD officer. Period. I just got done. Hold on.
And even if I did talk and said anything to you, I'm sure Greg Kading and them and all of them got that information, and so they had that information in their files.
Let me tell you this right now. Let me tell you this right now.
Yeah, he's still an asset.
If I had a 137 source, not just for this Biggie case, but for all the other cases that I've worked, those documents would not get handed over to an LAPD officer. Period. I just got done. Hold on.
Even though Greg Kading was federalized as a DEA agent, he would not have access to a FBI case manager's informant. It's a need to know basis. So look, so I sent that to Greg Kading. He said, Jesus, Carson is such a fucking moron. All Reggie needs to do is post the 137 paperwork, which I have on numerous sources. I'm sure you have, but you were only privy to 137 paperwork for cases you had access to. He's essentially saying that you weren't clear for access to all FBI files, only selective access, a need-to-know basis. So now Greg understands he can't spin me. He says, okay, what's the point though? The only case that matters is the one we're talking about, right? I said, correct. What date did you raid Cash Jones' house? What date did Cash Jones meet you with counsel and spoke with you? I'll look. It might be a few days. I hit him with the thumbs up. And then I hit him again 2.5 weeks later, 3 weeks later. You never got back with the date Cash house was raided, nor the date when you spoke with him. If you got to hide that information, I understand. No reason to hide anything. Nothing to hide. I just forgot. Hold on, let me pull this back up for y'all, man, so y'all can see what I'm reading. Nothing to hide. That nigga is crazy, bro. So he said, no reason to hide anything, nothing to hide. I just forgot. I said, okay, how soon can you get it to me? What is it for? I said, my documentary. So he sent me the information. Search warrant, Friday, April 25th, 2008. Meeting, that's the day they raided Wack house and his truck. Meeting with Cash Jones and attorney Sunday, April 27th, 2008, right? So I guess he just forgot. Thank you for your assistance. So then I said, Kading lies and says that there was no mention of cash in the Main Street case. So then I sent him this. Let's see if this is still up. Okay, now here it goes. Boom, 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 boom. There was no mention of cash. There was no mention of cash. Look, we've been up an hour and 30 minutes. Hit that like button.
In the Main Street case, other than when he's trying to get a hold of Mark Stevens and in order to tell him that the box has been compromised.
Yeah, and that's what the wiretap transcript said.
Case, there was no mention of cash in the Main Street case, other than when he's trying to get a hold of Mark Stevens and in order to tell him that the box is.
So there was no mention of cash in the Main Street case, except when he reaches out to Mark Stevens to tell him that stutter box is compromised. Ain't that a trip? Ain't that exactly what it says CS2 back did in the paperwork? So then I said, why are you lying about this? And then I sent them paperwork. Can y'all see this? Or y'all can't see it? So then I sent them paperwork. Right here, it says, Stevens later said he received calls from Ross's brother and Cash Jones. Remember, he just admitted that Cash called Mark Stevens, right? So Mark Stevens said Wack called him. Greg Kading say that Wack called Mark Stevens to tell him that Stutterbox went bad. And WACK100 is the only one denying he ever called Mark Stevens. But then he did say, I talked to dog. No, wait a minute. Ask Mark. Mark knows he's the one that tried to hook up the three-way. Right? He doesn't want to admit that he's the one on the call because the person on the call is referred to as confidential source 2 back. But this is the paperwork. The paperwork Wack say is fake about Deja 34, Koch Entertainment, the Ray J deal. Cash Jones. Stevens received a call from Cash Jones. Jones told him that Ross had a videotape of Shaquille O'Neal having sex with a woman, not his wife, at Ross's home, and that Ross could take the tape to TMZ and get a lot of money. But he's saying that they didn't mention Cash Jones. Then go down further. He first said it was in Las Vegas when he received the phone calls from Ross's brother and Cash Jones telling him about Ross being assaulted. So then Wack calls Mark Stevens back again after they had kidnapped Stutterbox and all of that. 2 weeks after he told him about TMZ had paid Stutterbox a lot of money for it, Wack Stutterbox is kidnapped. After that, Wack and Stutterbox's brother were the people who called Mark Stevens to tell Mark Stevens, did you hear about Stutterbox getting kidnapped, robbed, and beat up? Right? Then here goes another one. The kidnapping and robbery took place approximately 2 weeks after Jones delivered the message to Stevens and O'Neal. Once Mark Stevens and Shaq got the word from Wack about the tape going to TMZ and an extortion attempt, this blackmail attempt. Shutterbox was kidnapped, robbed, and beaten. Deuce, have you had that detective on yet? The one arguing with Veggie and Kading? Nah, I never had him. This is wild. He's discussing this with you over Facebook. Yeah, Deuce, lucky you hit him with the thumbs up and not thumbs touch. He called Chaz for backup once Biggie got hit up because Chaz was going to a party in LA the same night. Raider Q, salute, Deuce M, salute to the chat. Y'all hit that like button if y'all just coming in. Oh, thanks, because I didn't get past that part. It's clear now. Oh, I'm glad you got clear. Greg Kading is keeping info back on all these dirty, corrupt cops so he can keep selling books. It's a money play for the LAPD, Deuce. They know who is who in these murder cases. They want out the truth. Man, CS2 still trying to talk the dog. Yeah, that night, I think Steve Stout and Andre Harrell was having a party after Biggie got hit. So he just called for backup and to explain what happened leading up to Biggs did. Good looking out for the information, Big Mark. I'm assuming, hold on. I'm assuming that all of that is correct. It's definitely informational. We'll definitely have to check it out. But let's finish talking about Greg Kading. I tell Greg Kading, why is you lying? Right? I send him the paperwork. Remember when Quintero let's go up out of here. Let's go over here some more. I sent him all of the paperwork. Stutterbox telling on Wack, implicating him in the blackmail. Right? Let me blow that up so y'all can see it a little better. Ross, Stutterbox, who was still upset over the fact he was owed money, had a friend named Cash Jones deliver a message to Mark Stevens and Shaquille O'Neal. Stutterbox had Wack deliver a message to Mark Stevens and O'Neal. Jones told them Ross had a videotape of O'Neal. I got the tape. You know what I'm saying? This is what's going on. And you lying. So you lie about Cash Jones' name being in the paperwork. Remember, he said the only time Wack name came up in the paperwork was on the call to Mark Stevens, trying to let him know that Stutterbox went sour. But now I just showed you multiple pages in the Main Street investigation case of the alleged kidnapper, Stutterbox, and all of that, where WACK100 name is brought up by Mark Stevens, and WACK100 name was brought up by Stutterbox, the complaining victim. On the Main Street case, you allow Cash to present you as lead investigator of the Main Street Mafia Crip investigation. Your name isn't even in the paperwork. It clearly says Fournier and Coet. So you questioning the legitimacy of the paperwork that Mark Stevens provided? Let's compare it to your wiretap paperwork. You have the federal wiretap for the Main Streets investigation. Then it's the West Hollywood Sheriff's investigation of the Main Street Crips. Then it's the 7th Division LAPD investigation of the kidnapping of Stutterbox. There's discovery deriving from each of these agencies' investigation thereof, not to mention the DEA. So why lie? I heard you say that Box was CS2 back. He was not. He was the victim and an open complainant named in the Main Street case. What is confidential about that? Then he said, are you on crack? Be honest. Let's start that back over. Are you, this what this motherfucking mountaineer gonna tell me? Are you on crack? Be honest, right? Imagine how many scumbag cops were on Wedgie's books for that riding security company had. These cops were committing murder for hires for sure. Pac and Biggie were just paydays to these corrupt filth. Man, that's a fact. Y'all see J Hood's live. Ain't nobody finna do nothing to my daddy. And CS2 said, J Hood, your pop's good. With me, ain't no one doing nothing. FBI got Wack's back. No, I'll tell him the same thing. I ain't gonna do nothing to stutter box unless he come my motherfucking way. You know what I'm saying? Did Kading write a book too? Yeah. Absolutely. You can definitely check the info. If I'm wrong, I have no problem being corrected. No problem. Hey man, Big Mark, we just gotta have receipts. You know what I'm saying? Over here at the Damu Keyway Conversation. Greg Kading is the worst kind of devil. He got the law behind him. WACK100 has to be protected because real gangsters would have got him out the way because he knows too much. G-Max, salute. Damu and Keyway Conversations keeping y'all up to date on all hot topics and content. So let's get them likes up for show. He said, don't even trip. They owe me a favor. Right. How do Wack know everybody business? Hey, Kading must have known about the goings on that kicked off Rampart. Yeah, because after Detective Poole was taken off the case, that's who really handles the Rampart scandal. And then the unaliving of one of the police at Rampart, Gaines, who was having sex or was in a relationship with one of Tupac's ex-wives, I think Sharitha, right? Sharitha Knight. That Detective Russell Poole was investigating that case, which led him to all the other stuff, the El Rey murder, all kind of stuff at Club El Rey with DJ Quick allegedly and all of these other death row dudes, and police were there. Off-duty police were working security for death row. That it's claimed, some witnesses claim that they spotted David Mack or Rafael Perez or both with death row that night. Deuce Sim, what's good? What's good, kids? The barber. You know what I'm saying? So let's finish this real quick because I'm tired of this nigga. He said, are you on crack? Be honest. I said, pull my record. Only one crack case. In your LAPD Southwest Division crash unit, Livingston and Messenger planted that. Till today, never seen that dope. I'm sure you can't find the internal affairs complaint I filed stating that. Although the blue wall ensures the investigation went nowhere. Yet you didn't answer no question I asked. Is your position that I falsified these documents or that Mark Stevens falsified these documents? What documents? The discovery and wiretaps I sent to you from the Main Street Crip investigation. He said, if you are sending images, I can't open them. I'm in Asia and my phone is only receiving text. I said, when do you expect to be back? About 2 weeks. I said, okay, I'll reach back out to you then. Did you tell Cash Jones that me and Mark Stevens manufactured or altered the documents, transcribed wiretap, that refers to CS2 back on a conversation between Del Dog and Mark Stevens? Then he comes back. Have you lost your mind? You need to find something meaningful to do with your time, brother. Wasting it on foolish endeavors will ultimately get you nowhere. Find something that increases life, not strife. Just my friendly advice. I said, no, definitely haven't lost my mind. I asked this question because that is what is being insinuated. I want to answer. Question. So since he said what I need to be doing with my time, right? I love when people do that because 9 times out of 10, they ain't got as much as I got going on, especially positively at this point.
Hi, this is Valerie McConnell of Val TV Network in association with Active Chucks Entertainment for Black History Month. The proceeds will go to the GRIM Incorporated, a 501c3, to overturn qualified immunity. And today I have Chef Sean, a rapper, actor. How you doing?
So that's an interview with Chef Sean that I sent them. You know what I'm saying? Since he telling me what I need to do with my time, I bet you he can't show you one of these. But I bet you he can show you 100 of them with him promoting his book and that movie, right? Let's go here real quick. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I sent him to antagonize him for being stereotypical. I was one was in LA, downtown LA. Shout out my boy. Black cocaine, what up, man? Dude, Sam, the time. I'm back with my boy Cutter, hey, Kading, Street Rider. So yeah, I sending him all of this stuff about all of this positive stuff that I got going on. Since he wants to tell me what I need to focus my time on, I could walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Community center for allowing us to do this. And for us to leave. Let's back it up a little bit. Let y'all hear this. This is what I said, Fred Kading, for insulting my motherfucking intelligence. I'm on the fourth floor right here. Hit that like button. Welcome to Deuce Sims, Active Chuck's Entertainment CEO. I also run the charitable wing. I'm president of the board of directors for Active Chuck Charitable Organization, which is a 501c3 based out of Los Angeles. But we're heavy in inner city communities in Las Vegas. Shout out to Clark County School District in Las Vegas. Frank Liddy, what up? We're at Pearson. Hit that like button if you just coming in. Which is on the historic west side of Las Vegas. If you look at some of these pictures and iconic I think so too right here. It's kind of ironic that we choose to do this event here with this in the backdrop. Those are those that's behind us. It's time for us to lead a new change and change the narrative moving forward to where our communities are just a little bit better. One of the main things that we suffer as a community is a disproportionate education to, and we talk about in context, to comparison with their white counterparts. When you get to talk about corporate America and being able to compete in corporate America for job positions and or business, we already started at this and that. So yeah, this is how I whoop that devil with facts, right? And then it just goes on. You know what I'm saying? I didn't just show one, I showed them multiple videos of charitable events that I did. Forget about just bragging about all of the money I don't have, right? All the money I done spent on myself, cars and all of that. Talk about how I affect the lives of other people. This is on Skid Row, people. Active Chuck's Charitable Org. This is the line on Labor Day. This is what we did. This is what I enabled. Creating jobs, helping the community, right? This is what I said to the enemy. You know what I'm saying? Talking about what I need to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nigga, you don't tell me what the fuck I need to do, nigga. You assuming that I got nothing to do. Nigga, I could walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. You see this? Charity Navigator. If you go to any Active Chuck Charitable Org, anywhere, you're going to see Active Chuck Charitable Org, 501c3, EIN number, etc., providing social services needed within our community, i.e. food, shelter, jobs, job training, computer literacy classes, combating racial injustices, bringing awareness to mental health. This is what's in my mission statement, bro. How you gonna tell me what the fuck I need to do? Why would I count on my enemy to tell me what I need to do? Why would you assume that I wasn't already knew what I needed to do and wasn't doing it? Right? It's nasty work. Hit that like button. You know what I'm saying? It's nasty work, but this is how you put them in his place. You know what I'm saying? So when you see this, I sent this to Greg Kading. Lamonte Sims versus Amazon.com. This was a lawsuit, right? Amazon.com, these are the defendants. SoundCloud, John Doe's 1 through 50 inclusive, and YouTube LLC. I filed that lawsuit myself from a level 4 federal state prison. You know what I'm saying? So this is how you flex on these niggas. So then I tell them, I'll show y'all because we almost finished. But yeah, he blocked me. He couldn't handle it. But pay attention. So I said, what is meaningful to you and what is meaningful to me are two different things. I'm president of Active Chucks Entertainment. I'm chairman of the board of directors for Active Chucks Charitable Org. I'm CEO for Notorious G's, my publishing company, and on the board for Badass. That's Bad Association, Bullying, Addiction, and Domestic Violence Association. Not to mention, I'm a podcaster, founder of the Damu and Kiwe Conversation, a part of the media with Val TV Network and A&R as A&R and Vice President of Marketing. And then I sent them this. Oh, yeah, y'all can't see it. Let me show y'all Valerie McConnell. Shout out Val TV Network. We working right now on some shit. Shout out to Dose Reality TV. So, for those who don't know, Val TV Network, smoking on this cereal milk. Okay. Frank, I'm up in the hills in the camper, so I'm great. ATM, thanks. You having a good weekend so far. So look, this is Val TV Network. Following her tenure with CMX, Valerie formed her own company, Val TV Network. Some of her most memorable interviews further validated Val TV Network as a viable entertainment medium and led her to her current associations with Sinclair Broadcasting Network, BET, Viacom, HBO, Showtime, and other popular networks. The CEO of Val TV Studio, in partnership with I Win Faith Broadcast, which is all Christian, 24-hour Christian service channel, TV, the president of livestreamers.com. Valerie has acquired and maintained favorable relationships with popular Las Vegas hotels such as MGM Grand, Mandalay Bay, Palms Hotel, Caesars Palace, Las Vegas Hilton, the Luxor Hotel, Casino, the Venetian, Cosmopolitan, Las Vegas, and the M Hotel and Casino, MGM Grand, Caesars Palace, and Mandalay Bay, hosted and continue to host fight nights, events which were and are locally and internationally televised events, Val TV Network, and then it goes into that. All of my experiences inspired me to promote Val TV Network sports and entertainment brand and enabled launching Valerie Stage, Top 10 Music G Videos, CMX Music Video TV Show, EBX TV Boxing, a spinoff from CMX Boxing, a Don King promotion. She started with Don King in the boxing after she left Soul Train. Kingdom Economics Gospel Show, Cooking with Sage Melody, Chef Jonathan Hairbeat, Street Eye, Dog Pound Gangster TV, A Slice of Life, The Egyptian Cowgirl, Speak Out America, Pitbull Energy Drink Music Video TV Show, Rob the Notary reality TV show, Rob the Notary reality TV show, E-World Championship Boxing, and Darrell Thomas Ministry. Val TV Network Entertainment line also includes music, concerts, and fashion shows, stage at home reality TV shows, and a new stage live reality show on the CW network and the world. The Queen of Blues, Lady Brandy Place, to one of Valerie's longtime dreams of becoming a dancer on the Soul Train, popular dance television show produced by the late legendary Don Cornelius. So these is just some of the plugs that Val got. So when I tell y'all I work at Val TV, when I tell y'all I'm in entertainment and music, I'm not a one-hit wonder. I'm a businessman. So what's the business, man? You know what I'm saying? So I sent all of this shit to the nigga asked me, was I a crackhead? You know what I'm saying? And telling me what I need to follow my shit, what I need to be spending my time doing. So I said, with all of that said, I reiterate my question. He has insinuated such publicly, bringing into question my credibility. I thoroughly researched these topics, interviewed some of the people involved, etc. The transcribed wiretap paperwork of Mark Stevens' call with Del Dog refers to CS2 back. I didn't add that or anything to it. You can release your copy of that wiretap, as I have said. You question if you question authenticity. He said, you're right. Evidently, all the Cash Jones nonsense is meaningful to you, so I wish you the best in whatever pursuit you are chasing. I, however, think it's idiotic and of no social value, so I won't waste any unnecessary time with it. Fair enough? I said, laugh out loud. Evidently, Cash Jones nonsense was meaningful enough to you when he gave you Poochie name to help your case in Biggie Smalls' investigation. But carry on with your cryptic behavior and protecting your informant. I'm sure you don't believe any of my works are idiotic. Stop diverting. You are the big bad LAPD. Well, used to be until you were disgraced and encouraged to retire. But I'm sure you are not afraid to debate the facts with an idiot. Imagine that. He said, been debating with idiots for decades. It's nothing new. I'll leave you to your own lunacy and self-induced idiocracy. Years from now, or hopefully sooner, you'll recognize the valuable time you wasted chasing ghosts, boogeyman, and ill-conceived ideas. With that, I bid you adieu. And the nigga blocked me. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. You know what I'm saying? The nigga blocked me, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Bird, yeah, man, I'm on my shit, man. I'm a real businessman. You know what I'm saying? I know Wack be lying, telling people that's what's up, dudes. Good shit, bro. For real, yeah, bro. Like on the line, they can tell you all of this shit, who a nigga is, who a nigga ain't. And I'm not competing with them people. I'm in my own lane. I got my own plugs. I didn't need WACK100. I don't need Big U. Now, if me and Big U could collab on some things, why not? If me and Yael could collab on some things, why not? A Dose of Reality could collab on, why not? Walk, chew bubblegum, and slap them. That song is actually hard. Yeah, that's a fact, man. But that was the whole little shit with Greg Kading. I really want y'all to see his belly. Salute. Fire. Yes, ma'am. Charred Mystic. You know what I'm saying? I want y'all to really see how narcissistic and ignorant this dude was. You know what I'm saying? But okay, so we got that. I think I had one more thing or two more. Oh, the definition when they was asking him the legal term. See, Greg Kading plays such semantics, right? And he just spins and diverts. And a lot of these informants, pay attention. You can ask them a question, they won't even answer the question and bring up something else, or even respond with another question, which is so unprofessional and disrespectful. In legal terms, reckless disregard refers to a state of mind where someone is aware
of a substantial and unjustifiable risk, but consciously disregarded, acting in a way that is likely to cause harm. It's more culpable than negligence. So it's not just being negligence, it's more culpable. You knew consciously the unjustifiable risk, substantial and unjustifiable risk, but consciously disregarded. That's what the judge was saying that Greg Kading did in court, knowing that it was likely to cause harm, but they did it, you know, but he did it. So when he tries to say he didn't lie, and feigns ignorance, that's just another one of his ploys to evade accountability. See, these pigs, they never held accountable. You know, if they were held accountable, I'm quite sure that he wouldn't behaving like he behaving right now. So I got another video to go, but let's go into some of this real quick. Hit that like button. It's been 2 hours. The Rampart Corruption Task Force investigators discovered that hip-hop mogul Suge Knight, owner of Death Row, had hired several of the corrupt Rampart officers. This is Wikipedia. So what Greg Kading says, there's no proof that Death Row and Suge Knight Records had hired any corrupt Rampart that's a lie. Security at various times included Nino Durden, Kevin Gaines, David Mack, and Rafael Perez. So what the fuck is Greg Kading talking about? Knight was hiring off-duty Rampart policemen to work for Death Row as security guards for substantial amounts of money. Oh, shit. Let me stop this. All right, let me stop this. Boom. All right. Hit that like button, man. I'm cooking for y'all early, too, man. Least y'all can do is hit the like button. Let's go. So, let's get back to this. Here is some of the paperwork on the Death Row investigation. And we'll have to get into that. I'll do that pre-recorded so we don't have to look for it and go through it. But it has a timeline. Winter 95, shots are fired at a trailer being used to record a video by the Dog Pound and Death Row. That was the New York video shoot. Winter 95, Bad Boy release recording by Biggie titled Who Shot Ya? December 18th, 95, following MTV Awards, Blank was reported beaten by members of Death Row who were seeking information on the whereabouts of Puffy Combs for Bad Boy. They wanted to know where Puffy lived at, allegedly. Then it goes to the Soul Train Music Awards. All of the shit. Rap artist for Bad Boy was beaten at the MGM Grand Hotel in Las Vegas. Right? So these is documents specifically from it. The initial investigations by police were beset with issues. So let's get to the Biggie and Tupac murder investigation. This is one of the main reasons why we don't have convictions in any of them. Greg fucked up for that. Even got Miss Debbie on the phone. They still work. Yeah, we even got Miss Debbie on the phone. So the initial investigations by police were beset with issues in both the Biggie and Tupac murder investigations. The scenes were chaotic, leading to compromised evidence and a multitude of conflicting witness statements. So now you got conflicting witness statements from the get-go. You want to know why? Because Reggie Wright Jr. was already getting witnesses to lie about shit. Facts. Reggie Wright Sr. had already sent Detective Ladd and Brennan to go help the Vegas police with their investigation, muddying up the investigation. The intense media glare further complicated the process, with public speculation often overshadowing procedural rigor. The cases quickly transformed into sagas of frustration and intrigue, magnified by the stature of the victims and the shadowy world of rap music gang affiliations. You see how they want to push it on the gangs. These unresolved murders left an indelible mark on the music industry and the public consciousness, leading many to question the efficiency of law enforcement and the intricate layers of crime and power that existed beneath the surface of the glamorous music world. The murders of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. became larger than their individual stories, symbolizing something. Poole's investigation kicked off as any methodical detective's work would, focusing on a crime scene, witness testimonies, and potential suspects. Initially, the murder cases seemed to be isolated incidents of gang-related violence, a tragic but not uncommon occurrence in Los Angeles at the time. However, as Poole delved deeper, he began to unearth perplexing connections between certain individuals in the LAPD and the music industry, specifically those within Death Row Records, which was closely associated with Suge Knight, a prominent figure in the hip-hop world and reputed to have ties to gang activities, right? The story of corruption within the LAPD, particularly encapsulated by the Rampart scandal, forms a significant chapter in Randall Sullivan's Labyrinth. Go read that book. This period of corruption within the LAPD revealed the extent to which rogue officers were entangled in illegal activities, profoundly impacting investigations into the murder of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. The Rampart scandal, which came to light in the late 1990s, was centered around the Rampart Division's Community Resources Against Street Hoodlums crash unit. What ensued was a deep dive into a malign network of corruption, brutality, drug dealing, bank robbery, and evidence planting by the very officers who were meant to uphold the law. The scandal revealed how deeply segments of the LAPD were compromised, casting a long shadow over the investigations into both murders. One significant figure in the Rampart corruption was Officer Rafael Perez, whose testimony and confessions ignited a series of revelations about the department's malpractices. Perez admitted to numerous crimes, including drug thefts and planting evidence. As Poole dug deeper, Detective Russell Poole was investigating Rafael Perez, David Mack, and the Rampart scandal. As Poole dug deeper, he unearthed connections between Perez and other officers, including David Mack, who was connected to the bank robbery and had potential ties to Death Row Records, a music label with close ties to Tupac Shakur. This is Black Panther's office, Los Angeles, 1969, after the shootout and standoff. You know what I'm saying? But look, we finna get to this, what you call it, man. Hit that like button real quick, man.
He was then kidnapped at gunpoint and was forced to drive to a home in South Central Los Angeles, in the territory of the Main Street Mafia Crips.
Hit that like button, let's go.
Robbed, and demanded to return
Shaquille
O'Neal's sex tape. Stay tuned. Let's turn back the clock. The year is 1992, and Shaquille O'Neal roared his way from LSU all the way to the NBA, where he became synonymous with both power and finesse. Quickly, he became one of the league's most dominant players, and one of the US's most popular celebrities. As a literal larger-than-life figure, Shaq also dominated off the court, starring in movies, Pepsi commercials, gracing video game and magazine covers, making wrestling appearances, and topping the charts with one of his most dear passions, rapping, spitting on the mic. Along names such as the Notorious B.I.G, Nas, and Jay-Z, the big Aristotle showed us chops on the mic, even featuring on a Michael Jackson single. Yeah, seriously.
Zoe?
Yeah. From meeting for coffee.
Megan, I love you.
To meeting the family.
At Credit One Bank, we believe having credit and rewards for the little moments today.
Of course, Shaq doesn't get a King of Pop or Jay-Z feature by just dunking a basketball. He was actually an adept rapper for his time period. And although he already had millions of dollars, worldwide fame, and basically anything that he wanted more. He called himself a Renaissance man. And hey, he was Shaquille O'Neal, man. Whatever he wanted, he got. No diddy. So it's a year later now. Fresh off a Rookie of the Year campaign, Shaq founded his own record label called Twism Records, with Twism standing for The World Is Mine. Fitting. While being one of the league's best players from out the gate.
Is it true that you're the only rookie that was ever named Player of the Week in the first week?
Yes, sir, it is. I had a pretty good week.
He was also recording with some of the hottest artists in the 90s, the first of which being a rap group called Fushnikins, one of Shaq's childhood idols. The record was a song they'd already recorded, called What's Up, Doc? Can We Rock? They added Shaq last minute as a feature, and the song blew up. Coming out in the summer of 1993, it was a top 40 Billboard hit. To compare, Tweaker by Jello Ball is a top 30 Billboard hit, and look where it got him. So yeah, Shaq was hot stuff. It was actually fire, for the time at least.
What's up, Doc? I'm the hooper, hyper, protected by Viper. When I'm out the hooping, yo, you better decipher.
That single showed that Shaq could hold his own in the booth, and many more records followed. What's Up, Doc became the lead single of Shaq's first project, called Shaq Diesel, which went platinum, selling over 1 million copies. Buoyed by this massive success, Jive Records, the label that put Fushnikins and Shaq together in the first place, offered him a 3-album, $10 million deal.
Agent called and he said, bro, you're not gonna believe this. And I said, what? He said, they offer you a $10 million, 3-album deal. And I was like, I gotta take it.
The next album he dropped was called Shaq Food, The Return, where the first song was No Hook, featuring RZA and Method Man.
The Shaq attack has risen. Roll call 3 p.m. This is Twism. Always and forever.
The album went gold, selling about 500,000 copies. After this, Shaq left Jive Records and partnered with Interscope, where in 1996 he dropped the best album from any athlete ever, You Can't Stop the Rain, featuring the Notorious B.I.G, Jay-Z, Nas, and Rakim. For my younger audience, that's like Jello dropping a project with Drake, NBA YoungBoy, Lil Uzi, and damn, Cardi. Shaq was stamped in the music game. Just a few months prior, Shaq made the bombshell announcement that he'd be signing a 7-year, $121 million deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. From there, he became the legend that we all know. On the music side, he commemorated his move with the track Straight Playing. Symbolizing the arrival of Shaq Diesel on the West Coast. Now, comparatively speaking, You Can't Stop the Rain didn't do that well, selling 200,000 copies. Shaq did one more album partnering with A&M Records in 1998, which featured Kobe Bryant in a song called 3 Times Dope. However, Kobe wasn't credited because of label issues or something like that. But it's out there. I'll play a snippet right now.
I reach destinations with split-second acceleration in a capsule of time to witness your own evaporation.
When Phil Jackson came into the picture, Shaq let rapping take a back seat. And during the three-peat run in LA, he didn't release anything, recording one album called Shaquille O'Neal Presents Super Friends Volume 1, which never released. He dropped one last track called Drop Another Day number 34, which started a beef with a rapper called Mad Skills. And after that, he never dropped a full rap project again. The year is now 2004, and the Los Angeles Lakers are losing their groove. They lost their first NBA Finals in the Kobe and Shaq era, and while their status was nothing but solidified, Shaq's time in LA was almost up. Around this time, Shaq created a new label with his cousin Money Mark Stevens, a shrewd businessman who he regularly consulted with while he had Twism Records, which went under in 2001. This time, Shaq was looking to be the executive rather than the talent, and was looking for artists to partner with for his label. Now, enter Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox, due to his penchant for stuttering when he gets nervous or excited. He met Shaquille O'Neal at a party in LA in around 2003, and they became good friends. Stutterbox happened to know a lot of people around the music scene in LA. Shaq's new label, looking for new artists, commissioned Stutterbox to go and find new people for him, and he followed through, plus interest it seems. Enough to where Shaq shouted him out in a 2006 remix of his song with a Notorious B.I.G. That's not all he shouted out though. In fact, he had a lot of guys in a set to rap.
Man, Money Marcus Bullet, Cousin Kenny is my cat, man. Dog and Box got my back, man. K Slade, Corey Guns, Main Street, Lil Shaq, man.
So who are these guys? And what's Main Street? Well, see, Robert Ross was affiliated with the Main Street Mafia Crips of South Central LA. This is where stuff gets sticky. While I've lived in South Central LA before, I have not had a singular gang interaction. Like the closest I got, I went to a basketball court alone on the weekend, broad daylight. It's the middle of the day on a weekend and there's no kids and no one around. I'm wondering what's going on. I see some gang tags, I put it together and I get up out of there. I turn on the jets. I am not about that life. So I brought in someone who is. Lamonte Deuce M. Sims is an OG coming from the Fruittown Brims, a set of the Bloods in West South Central. He's worked with guys like YG and Ty Dolla $ign before, and featured on the viral Brim anthem, Hit Yo Brimmin'. He's also the owner of the media outlet Active Chucks, where he's interviewed major LA players like Suge Knight, as well as our main men Robert Ross and Money Mark Stevens.
Stutterbox is the nexus to this whole investigation.
In late 2007, Ross formed a relationship with his neighbor Ray J, and was able to bring him onto Shaq and Mark Stevens' label, with the help of Death Row affiliate Cash Jones, aka WACK100. That'll be important later. During the initial negotiations, Robert Ross and Mark Stevens agreed that Ross would make a percentage of royalties based off of whatever music that Ray J and the label put out together. But when they met in New York a few weeks later to finalize the deal, Mark Stevens balked. He gave Ross a $20,000 finder's fee and refused to pay him any royalties.
Now, mind you, Robert Ross is a real fancy, flashy dude. He's driving around Los Angeles at this point in Rolls Royces and Phantoms. He's really heavily and wealthy man. I think he had did a fraud, allegedly, and acquired about $7-8 million in a fraud scam that he had going on. So he's
you want high performance, long lasting, affordable tools. You want Harbor Freight tools.
A street millionaire.
So naturally, Stutterbox wasn't going for it. And neither was Ray J, actually. He refused to sign the deal until Stutterbox got his pay. But the facilitator in New York, Koch Records, were going to nix the deal if he didn't sign it. So Stutterbox tells Ray J sign the deal, and
how I get my money out of these guys, how I get my money out of them.
The project ended up being a commercial success, topping the charts of Billboard Hip Hop and R&B. The main single was Sexy Can I, which actually had Shaq in the background of the music video.
Is it true that Shaq invested in your music career?
Yeah, he gave us, I think, $1.5 million for Sexy Can I.
Wow.
Money Mark, WACK100, we had another partner, and then Shaq. And we recouped the number back for Shaq in, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months. And everything else has been profitable since.
All the while, Stutterbox was still trying to get his money back. After weeks of constantly requesting money from Mark and Shaq, there was no budging from either guy. So
Robert Ross and Cash Jones come up with a conspiracy to blackmail and extort Shaquille O'Neal and Mark Stevens for the money that Robert Ross felt he was owed for putting together the Ray J deal.
Now hold on, I know that sounds crazy, but hear it out. So Shaq and Stutterbox are good friends at this point, right? Stutterbox even introduced him to other members of the Main Street Crips, including the leader Liddell Rawls, aka Del Dog, remember that, and Kevin Haran, who went by the name of Lil Shaq. Sound familiar?
Dog and Box got my back, man. Main Street, Lil Shaq, man.
So not only does Shaq rep the Main Street set, but the other people that he mentioned are literally his family. Mark and Kenny
Cousin Kenny is my cat, man.
are his blood relatives, first cousins. And Corey Guns is his godson. But who gets the screen time? Not Kenny or Corey, but Stutterbox.
But him and Shaq was tight, and Shaquille O'Neal, prior to the deal, hung out with him, partied with him, even went to his house where Robert Ross leaves. Shaquille O'Neal had invited his female friend there, had sex with her there, and it was security cam footage when Robert Ross came home where he sees, oh man, he boom boom brought on my couch, you know what I'm saying? Shoved his hands all in her ass and all of this stuff.
So yeah, Stutterbox, Robert Ross, came home to a security cam footage and saw Shaq. Yeah. So anyway, that's leverage. This happened around July 2007, before Shaquille divorced his wife, Shawnee. That's infidelity from a global superstar in the 2000s. TMZ would literally be slobbering. TMZ was going to slobber all over that. So through Cash Jones, WACK100, Ross claimed to have recorded and saved the footage and insinuated that he could sell it to TMZ and make a lot of money. Additionally, get this.
Now, Robert Ross, another story plot twist, seeing that Shaquille O'Neal and Shawnee O'Neal were having a rocky relationship. As the story goes, he allegedly played into be a counselor, and it is rumored began to have sex with Shawnee O'Neal. I don't know if that's true or not. Like I said, Robert Ross lies about a lot, but it's been consistent. Even a lot of the police officers in their reports were citing that this allegation might have possibly been true. Shaquille O'Neal hired a private investigator to follow his ex-wife She follows his ex-wife and brings back footage of Robert Ross and Shani O'Neal having brunch together out they met halfway and met in Texas or somewhere down south back east.
During this time, apparently Robert Ross told Shani O'Neal about the sex tape and even offered to sell it to her. She also said she didn't believe there was a sex tape because he was a liar and he never slept with her. So anyways, regardless of all of what happened previously, I think we can all agree here that Robert Ross is moving hella shiesty. I mean, he did say he's gonna get it back his way. I mean, he's a street millionaire. What do you expect? But here's where he messed up. He messed with Shaq Diesel. Hey, no, guys. One thing Shaq didn't play about back then was leaks. During Kobe Bryant's deposition in his 2004 Colorado case, he name-dropped Shaq to the people who were interviewing him, claiming that Shaq would not pay his woman to say anything, and that he's already paid up to $1 million for stuff like this. Now, listen, I'm not gonna choose a side for you guys, but the alleged victim, 3 days before she charged Kobe, bragged about being with him to 5 people. She'd apparently tried to get with Eminem, and her friend described her as having a celebrity addiction. At least from Kobe's point of view, this was just infidelity. And when Shaq did it, he married Shani in 2002, he made sure to cover his tracks. Now here goes one of his business partners, who, by the way, had a track of criminal activity, and Shaq was claiming to want to reform him, but he'd also been dropping Shaq's name to police officers. So this is the guy who's trying to throw all of that now down the drain. Shaq wasn't going. Enter Del Dog, the leader of the Main Street Mafia Crips, and one of the most famous men of South Central LA.
You had to hear about Del Dog. He was like God.
Christened the Street Apostle, Del Dog was the founder of 4 Life Records and the 4 Life Mafia Car Club, the latter of which became the predecessor for an entire car subculture in Japan. He was also tight with Steve Harvey and Ice Cube, both of whom starred in a documentary funded by Shaquille O'Neal. Seen as nearly a biblical figure in his hood, he organized toy and food drives every Thanksgiving, Christmas, and summer, with Shaq even pulling up sometimes. Additionally, he was a devout follower of Christ in his later years, of which he did his best to spread the good word around his hood. Like one of his members said,
"We was cripping for the street, now we're cripping for Christ."
But like every person in power, there are 2 sides to the coin.
He's like a legend in Los Angeles. Some people even call him the king of Los Angeles. If you listen to most people, he was like a ghetto Robin Hood, right? Necessary evils.
Necessary evils.
Lord, I cannot kill all these niggas hating on me, man. That's what I said to God. I said, I cannot kill all these niggas that's hating, man.
2 weeks later, Robert Ross, Stutterbox, was at the Pink Dot in West Hollywood when he encountered some of his old partners from the Main Street Crips. They blocked his car from leaving and told him that Dog wanted to see him. They forced him at gunpoint to drive his Rolls Royce back to South Central LA, where they dropped him off in front of a member's house, where Liddell Rawls, Del Dog, was waiting. Per Ross's account, Dog and some other guys started jumping him, pistol whipping and all of this stuff for about an hour. They then took him to a studio in the back of the house, where they beat him some more, took his diamond necklace, his diamond earrings, Rolex watch, and $15,000 in cash. While saying, Mark and Shaq know who the real boss is now. Del Dog then demanded the tape and $100,000, to which Stutterbox replied, his mom and sister needed to see him soon or else they would get suspicious. But he'd be able to get $60K and the tape in just a few hours. Del Dog then handed him his keys for his house and his car, and let him out. Now, this is where our story gets even juicier. Robert Ross, up to this point, had been working with the police.
He was working with Detective Darren Dupree and Greg Kading, which was a joint task force. They were both LAPD officers, primarily focused on the Tupac and Biggie murder investigation.
My stepdad used to say the best way to know a thing.
Whoa, hold on, huh? Wait, why? Why? Well,
Robert Ross Stutterbox was also a suspect in the unaliving of Biggie Smalls, the Notorious B.I.G, Christopher Wallace. Well, they had informants saying that the police did it and the hitman name was Amir Muhammad. Well, Stutterbox went by the alias. Robert Ross went by the alias.
And to top it all off,
the Main Street Crips are already under federal investigation. I'm talking about home invasions, drug dealings. The FBI, ATF, DEA already has federal wiretaps going on.
Which is why this crime was able to be so fleshed out in the first place. They'd already had wiretaps placed on the Main Street Crips. Man. Listen, we talking about Biggie and Tupac on an NBA channel. Bro, like and subscribe, man. Who's really doing this? Back to box.
He leaves, jumps in his Rolls Royce. He calls his handler, Darren Dupree, and Darren Dupree tells him to walk-in report the kidnapping and robbery at the local police station, which he did.
Now, Robert Ross's informant situation and motives are still murky, but what is known is that instead of going home and receiving the tape and the $60,000, he went to the LAPD's 77th Division station, beaten and bloodied, and told the officers about what had just happened, and implicated Liddell Rawls, Shaquille O'Neal, and Mark Stevens. Now, was there any evidence other than hearsay to prove that Shaq and Mark Stevens put a hit out on Robert Ross? No, not really. But remember the wiretaps. The LAPD found that around the time that Robert Ross was kidnapped, a flurry of calls was exchanged between Mark Stevens and Liddell Rawls. Now, I just finished up The Wire season 1, and bro, when I read that, I said, bro, literally bar for bar, man, I was shocked. So, there's strong evidence that Money Mark called Del Dog to handle Stutterbox, something Greg Kading, the officer that worked with Stutterbox and the handler of the Tupac and Biggie cases, also corroborated.
Shaq's like, man, this clown's trying to extort money from me, blah, blah, blah. He tells Mark. Well, Mark reaches out to Del Dog and says, man, you gotta swear your guy away. Can you deal with Stutterbox? Tell him to knock this shit off. So Del Dog and the Main Street Crips go and they discipline and threaten Stutterbox.
But Ross didn't press charges right away. Sometime after the kidnapping, he was incarcerated again, which led to a delay for almost 3 years. Then, in the summer of 2011, he officially filed a civil complaint accusing Shaq, Mark Stevens, Del Dog, and 7 other Main Street Crip members of kidnapping, assault and battery, and robbery. From there, the case was picked up from all the major news outlets, with bombastic headlines like Shaq Attack and the like. But then, after the preliminary hearing, the case was inexplicably dropped. Why? Well, apparently, Robert Ross perjured himself in court. He lied on the stand. WACK100, his former partner, and in on that first Ray J deal, claims to know why.
To help a certain individual out, I called my attorney, had the attorney put Greg Kading and Mark Stevens together. They put that together to ask Box on stand, if you go pull the paperwork. Have you ever been a confidential informant to work for the LAPD, FBI as a known snitch? He lied on the oath and said no. Greg Kading takes a stance, provides a document that this dude is in fact one of our informants, this, that. At that point, the judge looks at it. He perjured himself. Therefore, any allegations or any claims he's bringing on anybody is non and void. They dropped the charges on these 7 Crips and let them go. So in a sense, this power roof freed the Crips.
Now, time for another plot twist. WACK100 was also allegedly an FBI informant at the time, but this time for Death Row Records in regarding the Biggie Smalls case. What's going on? Sure, Lamonte, who's actually got beef right now with WACK100, broke it down for me. Buckle up. So, for context, after the death of Biggie Smalls, there were allegations that the LAPD was involved in the murder. And not only that, but they hid their involvement in the preceding trials. Biggie's family then filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the LAPD in the city of LA, demanding over $400 million.
Detective Greg Kading, he helped federalize that Main Street case, but that wasn't his case. He's running the Biggie murder investigation and the Tupac Death Row Suge stuff. So that's his priority. There's a $400 million lawsuit against the LAPD and the city of Los Angeles, which would have bankrupt Greg Kading and Darren Dupree. The task force was created to bring up a different theory that didn't implicate any police officers in participating or assisting in the unaliving of Biggie Smalls, the Notorious B.I.G. That's his only focus, to bring up a theory so that they could get off this $400 million lawsuit. If Detective Coet would have spoke up on the stand, or Detective Fournier, they could have asked them about everybody who was on this investigation, including the informant. Informants being confidential source 2 back.
Now, who is CS2 back? Well, according to Lamonte's findings, that is WACK100 Cash Jones, who's listed in the investigations while Del Dog was speaking with Mark Stevens. Through Mark Stevens, who is now Cash Jones's employer at Deja 34 Records thanks to the Ray J deal, he wanted to convey the information that Stutterbox had gone sour. Del Dog declines. The police investigation referred to him as CS2, confidential source 2, and Mark Stevens confirmed his identity later on. The priority being the case of the Notorious B.I.G. and Jones's ability to be able to point out the culprit as being Wardell Fouts, aka Poochie, as a plausible story. If the police officers working on the Stutterbox case were to testify, they were liable to exposing Cash Jones's relationship with the police due to him being involved tangentially, and thus rupturing the relationship needed to have a working theory to save the city of LA and the LAPD $400 million. So they left their lower ranking informant out to dry, and the case was dropped. But hey, that's just a theory. A gang theory. That was poor. That was poor. Thanks for watching. My bad. The LAPD, by the way, had already designated Ross as an undesirable informant due to having a personal vendetta against other gang members and allegedly bragging about paying cops.
Stutterbox is a really interesting character. He may be one of the worst people that I've ever come across so far as how devious he is.
So maybe that was the reason. Whatever the explanation was, the case was dismissed, the members were set free, and Shaq didn't even see the courtroom. Robert Ross, regardless if he had later legal troubles, lives now in a nice house and what seems to be a peaceful life from what I can make out. Liddell Rawls, aka Del Dog, was shot in 2015 after allegedly attempting to mediate a gang dispute. Mark Stevens, I think, is still living in Atlanta, still working with Shaq, not on music anymore. That kind of died out in 2013. And as it turned out, he actually became Stephen A's agent. And Shaq is now an overpaid hater on national television, far from the gangster life that he may have once dabbled in. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't.
I don't know that Shaquille O'Neal was even aware that a kidnap and robbery was going down. I don't know that. You know what I'm saying?
We'll probably never know, but damn. And if you see any other stories like this, hit me up on Twitter, man. I want to see some more. I want to cover some more. Like and subscribe if you haven't, because more heat is on the way. Thanks for watching. You can't stop the rain.
You can't stop.
I love to take my dog Coco outdoors because I'm always on the go. That's
we cooking right now. We cooking. Hit that like button, man. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Tell a friend, share, and tell a friend y'all in here chilling with Duke Sims. Oh shit, wrong one. All right, let's go here. Oh, we could just go over here if we right there. Let's go down here. Boom. Videos. Let's go to this real quick, man. CS2 back. We're gonna be flaming a Crip cop up too. We waiting on the shit to drop. It's Saturday. We having, what do they call it when you do the whole thing? Let's go like this.
Dude that spoke on Shaq is completely right, because I was caught up in the middle of all that.
First of all, there were no arrests made other than Cash Jones.
WACK100, most famously known for arguing on Clubhouse, has been exposed as a confidential informant in paperwork recently released by defendant Money Mark and Stutterbox. Before we play the recording of Money Mark, who was the main defendant in this case, confirming Wack is back, let's take a look back to when Wack himself spoke on this case and admitted to meeting with the feds and also saying they owe him a favor.
Once they hit my motherfucking home office, that's when they called the search off. Because in the home office, he then discovered the house and cars and everything they thought was up under my name, that had that living beyond the means excuse to come in there, was all up under different corporations.
Wack is claiming that FBI did not know his house was not in his name before entering his home, and once they found his paperwork in his home office, they called off the search. How does the FBI not have this information prior to search warrant?
My attorney, we go down to the federal building on Wilshire Boulevard, right up to 405. We go up top. Now, I get up top, I'm tripping, niggas. So when I tell the motherfuckers, hey, look, y'all raided my house. Y'all had motherfuckers cuffed up in my house. Y'all did all this shit, you know, and y'all know damn well I was clean. Y'all embarrassed me, this, that. We filed the suit. When we get outside with my attorney, 2 officers that's depicted in there came to the front of me and my attorney said, hey, look, man, let this shit go. This shit gonna fuck, you know, this ain't gonna look good on us. We didn't know you. That boy put us on you, right? But we owe you.
Hey, Wack is explaining going down to the federal building tripping, and basically the detectives telling him on the spot that Stutterbox.
This is when he said he came downstairs and had a talk with the police when he came downstairs. We not talk about the upper conference room. Y'all didn't even catch that, bro. Pay attention. He said him and his lawyer come out outside of the building on Wilshire. And this is when the feds, two feds come, Greg Kading and Darren Dupree, telling him about they own one.
In my house, Y'all had motherfuckers cuffed up in my house. Y'all did all this shit. My attorney, we go down to the...
Prior to search warrant.
My attorney, we go down to the federal building on Wilshire Boulevard, right there to 405. We go up top. Now, I get up top, I'm tripping, nigga. So when I tell the motherfuckers, hey, look, y'all raided my house. Y'all had motherfuckers cuffed up in my house. Y'all did all this shit, you know, and y'all know damn well I was clean. Y'all embarrassed me. This, that. We filed the suit. When we get outside with my attorney, 2 officers that's depicted in there
when we get
came
outside,
to the front of me and my attorney said, hey, look, man, let this shit go. This shit gonna fuck, you know, this ain't gonna look good on us. We didn't know you. That boy put us on you, right? But we'll owe you one.
Wack is explaining going down to the federal building tripping and basically the detectives telling him on the spot that Stutterbox told us on you. This seems a little odd that detectives would give up someone who is supposedly working for them name, and also beg to drop the lawsuit and let us owe you a favor. Wack has told this story on several occasions, changing it up a little each time.
When I got up to the top floor, we went to go get my personal belongings, me and my attorney, when I saw the 2 women with that FBI flag jackets come out, that Stutterbox would always invite to dinner when we was eating at Stevie's on the Strip, that's when I knew what time it was. When we come off the elevator, I see a bunch of people in FBI flag jackets. Guess who one of the persons I see? The fucking female from New Orleans that asked about the 5 keys.
Sounds like a scene from Power. Was it 1 or was it 2 women? Now WACK100 decides to use his favor the detective promised him and calls it in. Listen to how easy it is for WACK100 to get the information. These is words coming from Wack, and like he always says, the truth could never be considered disrespect.
I'm sitting back, I call my attorney. I said, hey, yo, call that officer. I need to have a word with him. Yo, didn't you say that Stutterbox is a cooperant for you? Yeah. Documented on paper. Yeah, documented. He's a CI. Been that for 6-7 years. You got the paper and all, whatever y'all use. Yeah, we got that. Okay, yo, contact this dude. Have them call Stutterbox to the stand. Yeah, I called it in that day, and I did sue, but I used the card, and that was it.
Stutterbox alleges that WACK100 was caught on a wiretap with Dale Dog conspiring to commit murder. This is why his house was raided and led him to working with the police as back. Stutterbox explains to Juice M's that Wack gave up his address.
His house got raided because he was on the wiretap with Dog, you know.
What is Mark saying I had to do with the case, bro?
Wack, listen, in the paperwork, it said you tried to call Dog, remember?
I tried to
and he
call
won't take
Dog.
your call. And I sent it to you. And he
I
said
talked to Dog. I talked to Dog. That whole Main Street shit, that was your play. I had nothing to do with it. Nigga, I was a victim. Nigga, I was a victim. Nigga, I was a victim.
There you have it. Wack admitting to being a victim on the case, talking to Dale Dog, and also saying Money Mark was completely right.
Dude that spoke on Shaq, he's completely right, because I was caught up in the middle of all that.
Stutterbox said you in my paperwork on wiretap, right?
So Stutterbox confirmed that Wack was included in his paperwork
on the Main Street.
On the Main Street case,
which he wasn't charged. But this guy is saying the only person that was arrested
was Cash Jones.
If Greg's credibility hurts the findings of the entire task force or not?
Well, first of all, there were no arrests made other than Cash Jones.
But when you get the discovery, was part of that the actual wiretap? The whole transcript. I got the whole transcript. The whole transcripts of the whole wiretap. And do you in that paperwork? Do you see your conversation with Cash Jones in the transcript?
That was the initiating. That was the initiating when they started recording.
Right.
Damn.
Cash Jones.
In the paperwork they put him as Back, BACK. And
right.
I kept asking
the WAG boy in a minute.
The lawyer, like, who the fuck is? I ain't talked to no Back.
Nasty.
And they
way.
said, nah, that's Wack. So they put him in Back because he a brother. So it's
wow.
Okay.
Was this Back also referred as confidential source number 2?
Yes, sir.
Correct. Well,
that's nasty work. We don't even need to play no more of that. You got
with the homie Stutterbox. That's how I first came
to meet Wack was through the homie Stutter Box, right? When I met him, dude was driving trucks, seemed to be cool. Box was like, yo, this was his neighbor across the street. He seemed to be cool. When Stutter Box defected, Wack picked up the phone and was basically being the interim, the middleman, because he was telling me Stutter Box was defected. And I was like, okay, but my whole thing is, if he defected, why are you fucking with him?
Right. So he says that Stutterbox defected, and then you get some phone calls asking to speak to someone else, right?
Yeah, he called me.
How many times?
He called me, man. It was a series of calls, 4 or 5 calls. He wanted to reach out to the homie, rest in peace, Del, though. And I don't give out nobody now.
Right.
So I called the homie, Del, dog. I'm like, yo, homie, you want to holler at this dude or what? Because he keep calling me. And he was like, nah, I'm good on that. I don't want to holler at dude.
So at some point, you get a
Oh, you don't want to do no hollering?
WACK100 Cash Jones.
Hell no.
And when he contact you, what did he contact you concerning?
He wanted to reach out to Del Dog, rest in peace. And he wanted to give Del Dog some information that he had gotten from Stutterbox, right? It's like he was getting information from Stutterbox on what his plan was and what the get down was gonna be. And he wanted to talk to the homie and talk to him. And Dog wasn't getting on the line with him. And he kept blowing me up because he wanted me to get him on the line.
Right. Smart man, rest in peace.
Dominique, what up?
So he's talking about the phones is being compromised. Is that one of the things that he told you?
Well, the homie Del Dog never trusted dude. Follow me? Right. So Dog didn't know was the lines compromised or was they wired up for sound or not. He just wasn't gonna chance it.
Now let's jump into 2 more situations WACK100 himself discussed about his encounters with the FBI.
Fans just called my phone 2 hours ago.
What are you talking about?
I seen the shit, right? So first, I've been trying to get gang passport cleared. I said, maybe it's the, the passport people, right? So I said, I ain't gonna answer. Let me put the recorder on, then call. I called back. Niggas straight feds. So they asked me, have I been threatened? I said, what? Threatened by what are you talking about? They talking about the boy, right? So that let me know they on his line. They didn't heard something.
Information has been provided that you've had some disagreements with Mr. Prince. Are you familiar with him?
I know who he is, but I don't have no issues with Mr. Prince.
Okay. So,
a disagreement is a disagreement. I don't know how that factors in the FBI.
well, I think Mr. Jones, on the YouTube videos going back and forth with him calling you a snitch and you calling him one and all of that would be where we received information that there was possibly a disagreement.
Wack hired a crisis actor to impersonate the FBI. He posted a screenshot of his call log and bureau was spelled wrong. Was this Wack way of alerting the authorities he has issues with J. Prince? Wack has threatened 9,000 people on the internet, threatened to put a bag on people's head, claim he supplied guns to gangs.
Them same niggas you talking about when they went to war, guess who they had to come see to get their tools, bro? Big you all up. Wack. Crip nigga gotta come see me.
Why would the FBI be calling a big-time gangster like WACK100 to make sure he's okay? Unless there is a relationship between the two parties which could have started when the felon was caught in Texas with firearms. Wack has accused rapper T.I. of snitching for only serving 1 year for illegal firearms, claiming that there was no way he could have only got that little time without telling. WACK100 alone with his brother was arrested in Texas for unlawful carrying of a firearm by a felon. There was never a court date, no discovery on file, just a brief in support of motion to suppress. The case was dropped in 2011 in the interest of justice. Wack needs to do what he asked everyone else to do. Produce the paperwork, not just the order to dismiss. Explain how a felon gets caught with guns crossing state lines. What happened to your co-defendant?
Let's talk salary.
Great. What do you typically offer for this role?
It's competitive.
And if it was a number, it would be...
So that's the documentary, World Star Hip Hop. We'll get into that later when we flame up the Crip Cop. I'll go ahead and flame up CS2 back again, man. Thanks everybody for coming. Thanks for all of the support. Remember, we're live on Patreon. I'll be uploading part 3 of the We need more support. Go ahead and subscribe to the Patreon. It's in the chat. And also, matter of fact, let me get that Patreon link, and I'm gonna put that in the let me see. Maybe I could put that in the description. And then I think we might go live again tonight. It depends on what Maria want to do. It's the weekend. She just got home. We finna eat, and then I'll get back with y'all later, man. Salute to the Damu Keyway conversation. Salute to the Blue Wrench Mob. Salute to the chat. The chat's where it's at. Ain't no way in hell the feds call you on some, you call someone a rat, man, stop it. A crisis actor laughing his wiggle is real cold, rat. This is bad business. Yeah, Renegade Duchess. And that's why that video did 3 million views on World Star alone. 600 say he got a traffic ticket from the feds. I'm dead. These niggas killing me. For real, Luke from the Loop. Kazoostas. Salute on Twitch. Make sure you subscribe. Kazosis. Osis, however you pronounce it. Kazosis. You know what I'm saying? I can never figure Patreon out. I got 5 accounts over there. I know, bro. I try to put the thing in the description, but y'all just stay tuned. Turn on your notifications so we don't have to wait for people to get in there. The quicker y'all get in here, and we got over 100 likes, the quicker we get to the content. Till the next time, I want y'all to know what it is. You know what I'm saying? West Coast, the hottest live on YouTube, the dopest room on Clubhouse, the Damu Keyway. Conversation. That's a fact. You know what I'm saying? Damu Keyway. Conversation.